Oh, sorry. I'm reading my printed copies of the Einstein emails. Guys, welcome in. Welcome in. I hope everybody's having a wonderful day. Vatican City blue tonight, guys. I saw somebody guess light blue earlier, and you were right on the money. Right on the money. Everybody else was wrong. Yeah, the Einstein emails. I can't say the other word because YouTube's getting all bent out of shape when people are saying the EP word. The rhymes with Mepfleen, the Mepfleen emails. So it's the Einstein emails as far as I'm concerned. And we do have a little bit of analysis on the Einstein emails today. This is not periwinkle. This is Vatican City blue. It even has a little white cloud on it. Vatican City ceiling blue. That's exactly right. All right, guys, I want to get right into this tonight. I want to start with something that made me laugh. I don't know why this made me laugh so much. I forgot about this rant, and somebody sent this to me and said, hey, did you see this? Somebody animated one of your rants, and I just assumed it was the Joe rant. And I was like, yeah, I've probably seen it. No, I had not seen this rant at all. And it absolutely floored me. And so I want to start here. I'm going to get to the opening. The opening's phenomenal, if I do say so myself. Absolutely phenomenal. It's an opening I've been wanting to do, and I haven't had the right lead in or subject matter or time, or I knew it was going to take a long time to research this opening, but I was tempted to do this one, and I kind of gave the game away on the poll before. It does have to do with Elizabeth Holmes and Theranos. Somebody commented that they noticed I follow Elizabeth Holmes on Twitter, and they said, how are you able to accomplish that? Her Twitter's locked down. I don't know how I was able to accomplish that. She just accepted my request. But because of that, I want to start with this, which is pretty much wholly unrelated. Where's my, oh, there it is. So where's my share screen button? They've changed the layout here. All right. I want you to see this because I really just say stuff. I don't even know what I'm saying half the time. And when I saw that, I thought, all right, that's amazing. First, I like that they think I bench like 400 pounds and I can power clean like 550 because I look jacked in that. I can assure you I don't look like that. I mean, but that's okay. That's okay. If I give off that impression, I'm fine with that. All right, I want to get into the opening statement here. It is one of my favorite topics. This is a pet theory of mine that I've had for a while. And I want to what's the word I'm looking for? I want to tie it into the Charlie Kirk situation because I think there are a lot of parallels. So if you will give me, yeah, Erica doesn't look like that either. I saw you. No offense, lady. Neither one of us are as hot as our cartoon version. All right, members of the jury, I got to get to this opening statement. We're getting out of control too early. All right. Here is your opening statement. In November of 2002, a mysterious and deadly viral outbreak was noted in Foshan, China. Foshan is on the southern coast of China, about 20 to 30 kilometers northwest of Hong Kong. The World Health Organization was notified of the outbreak in February of 2003. The WHO issued a global alert in March of 2003. Initially, the cause of the outbreak was unknown, and some media outlets reported that an influenza virus was the potential culprit. The major part of the outbreak lasted about 8 months. A viral culprit was identified and named SARS-CoV-1. If the name sounds familiar, it's likely because the alleged viral culprit of the COVID-19 outbreak was the second virus of this same class, the so-called SARS-CoV-2 virus. The World Health Organization declared SARS contained in July of 2003. However, several SARS cases were reported as late as May 2004, when SARS cases all but disappeared for good. In all, over 8,000 SARS cases were identified and nearly 800 deaths blamed on the virus. It was against this backdrop that a young entrepreneur named Elizabeth Holmes promised a revolution in diagnostics. Her company, Theranos, claimed to have developed a device that could run hundreds of blood tests from a simple finger prick. Holmes positioned Theranos as a bulwark against such outbreaks, where early Efficient blood testing could easily identify infections before they spiraled into epidemics. Elizabeth Ann Holmes was born on February 3, 1984, in Washington, D.C. Her family was steeped in ambition and legacy. Her father, Christian Rasmus Holmes IV, was a vice president at Enron. He worked in the Clean Energy Solutions Group before the company's infamous scandal. He later held executive roles in government agencies like USAID, the EPA, and the U.S. Trade and Development Agency. This exposed young Elizabeth to a world of international humanitarian work, with family photos of children in crisis zones fueling her early desire to change the world. Her mother, Noel Ann Doust, worked as a congressional committee staffer, embedding the family in D.C.'s political circles. Elizabeth's great-great-great-grandfather, Charles Louis Fleischmann, was a Hungarian immigrant who founded Fleischmann's Yeast. He amassed a fortune. The family cherished this legacy, and it instilled in Elizabeth a yearning for reclaimed grandeur. When Elizabeth was a young child, the family relocated to Houston, Texas, where she attended the prestigious St. John's School. She had few close friends and spent much of her time inventing, once filling a notebook with designs for a time machine. She was 7 years old at the time. By age 9, she declared her ambition was to become a billionaire. She was deadly serious. In high school, she developed an interest in computer programming and started a business selling C++ compilers to Chinese universities. She took lessons in Mandarin Chinese and joined Stanford's summer Mandarin program while still in high school. It was during a 2002 immersion trip to Beijing that she met Ramesh Sunny Balwani, a technology entrepreneur 19 years her senior. Sunny Balwani would later become a pivotal and controversial figure in her life. In August of 2002, Elizabeth Holmes enrolled at Stanford University as a chemical engineering major. She earned the President's Scholar. It's a $3,000 stipend to be used for a research project. She used the stipend to file her first patent application for a, quote, medical device for analyte monitoring and drug delivery, end quote. She persuaded Professor Channing Robertson to allow her to work in his lab using the funding. It made her the only undergraduate working in his lab among the PhD students. After her freshman year, she traveled to Singapore in the summer of 2003 to work at the Genome Institute, where she worked on a computer chip designed to detect the SARS virus. SARS, as we discussed earlier, was raging at this time. Very little is known publicly of her experience in Singapore at the Genome Institute, but something there affected her greatly. In March 2004, during her sophomore year, and just 6 or 7 months after returning to Stanford from Singapore, Elizabeth left school at age 19 to found a company she named Real-Time Cures. Real-Time Cures would become Theranos. She used her tuition money as seed capital. At the time, she envisioned a patch or a device for instant blood analysis, potentially transforming outbreak responses. It's important to note the director of the Genome Institute at the time was a guy named Dr. Edison Liu. Prior to leading the Genome Institute of Singapore, he was the scientific director at the National Cancer Institute's Division of Clinical Sciences in Bethesda, Maryland. Prior to that, he was a faculty member at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, where he was the director of the Laboratory of Molecular Epidemiology and chief of medical genetics. Of note, Dr. Robert Redfield, the former director of the CDC, made a direct accusation that COVID-19 was started at the lab at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill by one of its researchers, not in Wuhan, China, as we were told. The National Cancer Institute, it should be noted, is a division of the National Institutes of Health, which would have put Dr. Edison Liu in Bethesda, Maryland, alongside Dr. Anthony Fauci, who was the head of NIAID at the time, also part of the NIH. Elizabeth led Theranos on a steady path of growth. In 2004, when she was just like 20 or 21 years old, the company raised almost $7 million and was valued at $30 million. Additional early funding rounds pushed valuations even higher. There was Theranos valued at $197 million by 2007. and $1 billion by 2010. Elizabeth operated in stealth mode for a decade. She avoided press while securing over $700 million in cash from investors. In 2013, a new virus similar to SARS emerged. This one was called MERS-CoV, the Middle East Respiratory Syndrome coronavirus. Like SARS-CoV, it had a high fatality rate. More than 2,500 people ultimately were diagnosed with MERS, and nearly 1,000 died. In 2014, Theranos unveiled its website and partnered with Walgreens to open wellness centers for finger prick tests. This debuted the Theranos diagnostic device to the world. Elizabeth Holmes named the device Edison. The official narrative is that the Edison device was named after famed inventor Thomas Edison. I deeply doubt that. I believe it was named after Dr. Edison Liu, the director of the Genome Institute, where Elizabeth Holmes worked in Singapore shortly before dropping out of Stanford to found Theranos and work on the Edison device. Holmes claimed the Edison device could perform 200 tests accurately from a single drop of blood, a boon for remote and epidemic-stricken areas where traditional labs faltered, as seen in the West African spread of Ebola, for example. That same year, 2014, Theranos hit a $9 billion valuation, making Holmes the youngest self-made female billionaire at age 30. Forbes magazine estimated her net worth at $4.5 billion. Media hailed her as the next Steve Jobs. She wore black turtlenecks and adopted a deep voice, amplifying the mystique. Partnerships expanded, including with grocery chain Safeway, and the company touted FDA approvals for some of their tests. Amid Zika's 2015 and 2016 epidemic, which affected 87 countries and caused microcephaly in thousands of babies, Theranos' portable tech seemed ideal for field diagnosis in resource-poor regions. Investors poured in, drawn by the promise of disrupting a $75 billion testing industry. Central to Theranos' credibility was its star-studded board of directors. When Elizabeth founded Theranos, the first board member was the professor, Channing Robertson. The board eventually grew to include a collection of political and military heavyweights. Most reportedly were recruited by four-time presidential cabinet official and former Secretary of State George Shultz. Elizabeth met Secretary Shultz in July of 2011. Shultz at the time was a distinguished fellow at the Hoover Institute at Stanford University, where Elizabeth had studied before dropping out to found Theranos. The two were introduced by mutual connections. We've never been told who those connections were. The story goes that Elizabeth gave Shultz a 2-hour pitch, and he was so captivated that he joined the board of directors shortly after the meeting. The board quickly swelled to become a who's who of Washington, D.C. political and military insiders. There was Secretary Shultz, a Nixon and Reagan era statesman. They brought in Henry Kissinger, another former Secretary of State and National Security Advisor. There was 4-star Marine General James Mattis, who joined the board in 2013. General Mattis would later become Donald Trump's defense secretary. He praised Holmes' vision for military applications like rapid field testing during outbreaks. Other members included William Perry, the former Secretary of Defense under Bill Clinton, Sam Nunn, a former senator and chairman of the Senate Armed Services Committee, Gary Roughhead, a retired Navy admiral, Richard Kovacevic, a CEO of Wells Fargo, Riley Bechtel, former CEO of the Bechtel Group, an established military and government contractor, and celebrity lawyer David Boies, who has represented people like Vice President Al Gore and the United States government in its prosecution of Microsoft. By 2016, the board evolved further with additions like ex-CDC director William Foge. It's hard to put into words just how powerful the Theranos board truly was. It would have been a good team to lead an entire government or lead a war. Two of the most powerful secretaries of state in American history, George Shultz and Henry Kissinger, a former Secretary of Defense in William Perry, a retired admiral, a 4-star general, 2 former senators, Sam Nunn and Bill Frist, the former director of the CDC, the former CEO of Wells Fargo, and the chairman of a large military contractor. This composition raised eyebrows. In a health tech firm promising breakthroughs amid global contagions like Ebola, where accurate testing saved lives, the board's expertise lay in diplomacy and defense, not healthcare, and certainly not diagnostics. Critics later argued this all-star group provided cover, deterring scrutiny while Holmes controlled decisions. The board's prestige attracted investors during MERS and Zika, when rapid tests could have mitigated spreads, but it also masked underlying flaws. Cracks soon emerged. The first crack that led to the eventual unwinding of Theranos came in 2015, just as the Zika virus was making global headlines. A surprise report from Wall Street Journal reporter John Carreyrou, who had been tipped by a medical expert, exposed Theranos' deceptions. The Edison device was unreliable. Most tests were instead being run on other commercial machines. CMS investigated and revealed lab irregularities, and it led to a shutdown of their lab in Newark, New Jersey in 2016. As a result of these reports, Theranos' partnerships dissolved. Walgreens sued Theranos for $140 million. And in 2018, the SEC charged Elizabeth Holmes and Sunny Balwani with massive fraud. The allegation was that they misled investors on tech viability. Elizabeth Holmes settled, paying $500,000 in fees, and relinquished control of Theranos. And then the federal indictments followed. In June of 2018, both Holmes and Balwani faced wire fraud charges for defrauding investors and patients. Theranos dissolved in September of 2018, and its $9 billion valuation evaporated. Forbes magazine actually revised Elizabeth's net worth from $4.5 billion to zero. George Shultz, the incredibly influential and politically connected former Secretary of State who helped recruit one of the most powerful collections of directors in corporate history, ultimately was the cause of Theranos' downfall. Secretary Shultz had invited Elizabeth to his home on the Stanford University campus. In his living room, Secretary Shultz introduced Elizabeth to his grandson, Tyler Shultz. Tyler joined Theranos in 2013 as an intern and later worked as a research engineer. It's reported that Tyler Shultz is the person who tipped off the Wall Street Journal reporter about the internal problems. In doing so, Tyler became a whistleblower who would provide information on what he perceived as shortcomings that eventually led to criminal charges. Elizabeth Holmes eventually was convicted in 2022 of 4 counts of fraud and sentenced to 11 years in prison. Theranos and its Edison device seemed tailor-made for an era plagued by mysterious contagions. There was SARS in 2002 and 2003, MERS in 2012, Ebola 2014 to 2016, Zika 2015 and 2016, and we can't forget COVID-19, which would expose the world's unpreparedness for mass-scale diagnostics. Nearly all reporting lays the blame at the feet of an overly ambitious Elizabeth Holmes and her lover/enforcer/employee, Sunny Balwani. But what if the story isn't as cut and dry as we're told? It never made sense to me that a college dropout with a machine that didn't function correctly conned some of the sharpest minds in business and government out of hundreds of millions of dollars. That ultimately is the base of her criminal convictions, but what if they are inaccurate assumptions? Let's take a closer look at the board in the context of what we now know, looking back, likely was being planned all along. Elizabeth Holmes was a sharp, attractive, ambitious teenager who was told to leave school and start a business that, on its face, had almost 0% chance of succeeding. But she did not arrive at that conclusion by herself, to leave school and take the chance. She was encouraged by her Stanford professor. She was encouraged to go to Singapore as a teenager and work on diagnostic testing in a genomics lab at the height of the SARS-CoV-1 virus raging. The genomics lab was headed by someone with ties to the University of North Carolina, the very same university where former CDC Director Robert Redfield claims SARS-CoV-2 was created. SARS-CoV-1, as we know, was the predecessor to the sequentially named SARS-CoV-2 virus. That's the cause of COVID-19. Perhaps North Carolina had been working on this project longer than we realized. The major feature of SARS, MERS, Zika, Ebola, and other suspicious viruses is that they pop up quickly and then quickly go away. Viruses tend to be like that. They tend to rage for a season or so and mutate so as to become background noise or disappear entirely. These viruses were never credited with infecting more than a few hundred or a few thousand people each. That's probably because only the sickest of the sick would be identified and determined to have the virus. That's why the fatality rate was so high. It's highly likely that many more people actually were infected, but they were never determined through diagnostic testing to actually have the virus. Diagnostic testing was too invasive and too expensive to bother testing people who had only mild symptoms or no symptoms at all. But if you wanted to use one or more of those viruses for a global political or military operation, you wouldn't want it to pop up quickly and go away. You'd want it to hang around. You'd want to identify everyone who has it, regardless of how mild their symptoms. Perhaps in the most sinister reading possible, you'd even want to be overly inclusive and identify people as infected who might not actually have the virus at all. The result would be a global pandemic. Enter Theranos with its board of directors, stocked from the military-industrial complex and the highest levels of government insiders. It's my opinion, I'm not stating this as fact, it's my opinion that Elizabeth Holmes was a patsy, an unknowing patsy, but a patsy nonetheless. She was incredibly ambitious and very sharp. She could think and speak on her feet. She could impress nearly anyone she encountered. She deeply wanted more than anything to be successful, and the people who surrounded her easily could have identified that and taken advantage of her because of it. I believe that's exactly what happened. In my opinion, George Shultz wasn't a chance encounter. I think he was positioned to meet her. He allowed her to wow him. Her idea, if it could be co-opted, would give globalist elites exactly what they'd been lacking with prior potential pandemics. To have a truly global pandemic, you need cheap, easy testing. To implement the global shutdowns and global takeovers, they need a way to tell everyone they were infected with a mysterious virus that might end your life. I don't even think it mattered that the technology wasn't perfect or didn't even work very well. It just had to be perceived as working well. And for several years, that's exactly what was happening. The product was being rolled out and gaining the confidence of the general public. But eventually, the product just kept failing too often. It wasn't so much that the product wasn't working well, it wasn't working at all. And so Elizabeth had to be eliminated. Theranos had to fall. And that's where, in my opinion, the man who built the board from scratch also took down the company and its founder. It's no coincidence to me that it was Secretary George Shultz's grandson, the grandson introduced to Elizabeth Holmes by Secretary Shultz in Secretary Shultz's living room, who was the person who blew the whistle and kicked off the downfall of Theranos and its founder, Elizabeth Holmes. If the testing wasn't reliable enough to be used for a global pandemic, it was entirely worthless. And if it was worthless, we couldn't have the founder digging around trying to figure out what was going wrong. She had to be eliminated. I can't prove that. It's my gut feeling. But the facts lead me to that opinion. And I draw serious parallels between the downfall of Elizabeth Holmes and the downfall of Charlie Kirk. There was the initial approach, Holmes as a sophomore in college, Kirk as a rising freshman. The decision to abandon school and chase a dream that had an almost 0% chance of succeeding. Holmes founding a medical diagnostic technology company based on technology that didn't even exist, and Kirk traveling the country with a 72-year-old man to preach free market economics to college students. To the drastic rise as insiders embedded themselves in the organization. Holmes with a board of directors full of political insiders, and Kirk with directors and officers full of political insiders. The rapid growth beyond anything anyone imagined, Holmes being valued as a billionaire, and Kirk advising the president of the United States as his net worth climbed into the 8 figures, all the way to the downfall, Holmes going to prison and Kirk going to the grave. I think they lived the same life. Their stories at least echo. Both were nurtured and shepherded each step of the way by a shady cast of characters who ultimately, in my opinion, destroyed them. And that is your opening statement. And if you've never followed the story of Elizabeth Holmes, you should. You should. It's a good story. I've long suspected that I'm right on that. I cannot, for the life of me, get her to agree. Not that I've had the opportunity, but I've sure tried to get it out of there. But anyway, so that's fascinating. If you've not looked into the rise and fall of Elizabeth Holmes, you should. I put a poll up before the show that said that asked whether you'd heard of Elizabeth Holmes and Theranos, and I think less than half of you had heard of it. So I hope by now you have heard of it, and I hope by now it's something that makes sense to you. All right, I want to start real quickly. We're going to get to the pleadings in the Tyler Robinson case. To me, that's the big story of the night, but I want to start somewhere else. I want to start with one of these Einstein emails, because I think you've got to draw conclusions based on who is and isn't even mentioning this at all. And I'm going to tell you right now, if you know someone in the media who's not mentioning the Einstein emails at all, I know it starts with an EP, and I know it's Steen instead of Stein, but YouTube's getting weird when people say that word, Jeffrey's last name. So I'm going with Einstein. I'm going to put up an email that to me is one of the more shocking emails in the entire thing. I was pointed to this by a Twitter person. Let me see if I can find his name. Colonel Towner is his YouTube handle, Colonel Towner. I don't know if that's a pseudonym or if that's his real name, but let me pull this up. I think it's by far the most shocking email I've seen yet. And let me squeeze the screen a little bit so it'll make it large for you. There we go. This should help you be able to see it a little better. This email to me is so shocking. I can't vouch for the veracity of it, but the fact that this email is in here is so shocking to me. It might be blurry to you, so I'll read it. I might have to change a few words here and there, but I'll read it. The email is from a guy named Ken T, who apparently is in Mexico investigating trafficking. Here is what it says. We've had another serious incident since an American shot the trial judge in our child blank trafficking case here. He and I both think this latest incident is tied to the fact that we have reached out to your team. Who on your team knows we are talking to you? Anyone assigned from NSA, CIA, or U.S. State Department? Please understand people's lives are in jeopardy. We've had 4 armed attacks against us. My partner has shot and killed 2 and wounded 5 American agents to date. Numerous white American agents following us in vans assigned to the U.S. Embassy. Jorge was attacked and lost his arm. The president of Mexico is keenly aware of our case against Marcinko and other U.S. officials. The case we have here is most certainly connected to yours. And they're talking about the Einstein case that was going on at the time. He was not yet dead. We have the proof. Oh, he has the proof it's connected to the Einstein case. Our case will help bring a whole new dynamic to what you know and who is involved. Listen to this next line. Prince Philip is small fry compared to what we have uncovered. Guys, I haven't even gotten to the best part. This next line, this next couple of lines is so shocking to me. And it raises a Tyler Robinson parallel. From the email, you may want to question the ex-U.S. ambassador to Mexico. Again, this is. I'm just reading an email. I'm not accusing this guy that I'm about to mention his name. I'm not accusing anything. I don't know if any of this is true. I'm just reading the facts as they appear in these files. That's it. You may want to question the ex-U.S. ambassador to Mexico, Mr. Earl Anthony Wayne, about his involvement with an underage girl when he attended and was arrested by the federal police. We believe that Marcinko and Einstein were involved organizing this party, and it was held in Juarez, Mexico in 2014 at a U.S. consulate-controlled housing facility. Here's the line. You ready for this next line? That's not even the shocking part. Ask him how he knows Richard Marcinko. He was sentenced in Mexico in 2017 to life sentence for impregnating an 11-year-old girl. Her son's DNA matches Wayne's 100%. So I'm going to pause there and then I'll finish the sentence. What he's saying is this U.S. ambassador, this is his allegation, not mine. I'm just reading what he says. I actually don't even have an opinion on it, except for the fact that this is in an email in the Einstein files is shocking. What he's saying is the U.S. ambassador to Mexico at the time in 2014 is the father of a child in an 11-year-old's body. The father of a child that is in an 11-year-old's body. That's what he claims, that there's 100% DNA match. Here's the shocking part. But he, meaning the ambassador, is allowing an ex-U.S. Marine to stand in his place to serve his sentence in Mexico. This is a life sentence, by the way. That was an agreement worked out between our U.S. State Department and a judge in Mexico after a huge payoff. Mr. Anthony, again, the ambassador, Mr. Anthony has an outstanding arrest warrant here in Mexico for avoiding sentencing. His cell number is redacted. I want to confirm that the phone you will be using has been swept for malware and keyloggers. After our call, you'll understand why we are so concerned with the secure comms here. That is the email from the guy investigating down there in Mexico. Now, the response he got 2 days later, so that was on July 27th of 2019. The response he got just 2 days later was one line: my task force is not affiliated with the intelligence community if you want to arrange a call time. That's all he said in response to that. My task force is not affiliated with the intelligence community. Now, I want to read a follow-up email that took place about 6 months later in just a second, but I want to draw a quick parallel. A lot of people are asking if Tyler Robinson is innocent, why would he be charged with a crime he didn't commit, and why would he be going along with it? The answer is we don't know. But according to this email, it's not unprecedented that an ex-U.S. Marine, again, according to Ken Turner, the author of this email, that an ex-U.S. Marine was allowed and agreed, apparently, to serve as the patsy in this case, despite evidence to the contrary, and step in and serve a life sentence in Mexico. So it's not unprecedented. Now I want to read a follow-up email from 6 months later. Here is that follow-up email. As I tried to tell you a month ago, now this is the same Ken T writing, presumably to the same person, but we don't know that because everything's redacted. As I tried to tell you a month ago, I've continued interviewing the young victim, Carla, and she has finally opened up after her guardian was attacked and beaten by U.S. agents in Chetumal. She's disclosed where she met Einstein, whose homes they visited in New York, Maryland, New Mexico, Florida, Virgin Islands, Cozumel, Playa del Carmen, and Cancun in just the last 2 years with Marcinko. The names she has associated with him in these visits include Clinton's, Biden's, Wayne, older politicians and lawyers. She has a photographic memory and is an excellent artist who made sketches of some of those men. These U.S. agents who attacked her and her guardian are under arrest in Mexico and have asked her and her guardian to drop all the charges against them so that all the harassing attacks will stop. I don't trust these people not to harm her and her guardian due to all the past attacks. If you want to interview her, let me know and we can arrange for you to talk. In other words, according to this guy, I can't vouch for the veracity of this guy. I don't I know who he is, but I can't vouch for the veracity of him. But according to this guy in the Einstein emails that were released Friday, according to this guy, he is talking to a young victim he is calling Carla, probably not her real name because it's in quotes, that because she's talking about Einstein and famous people like Clinton's, Biden's, older politicians and lawyers, because she's talking, and a U.S. ambassador, because she's talking about these people, she was attacked and beaten by U.S. agents, her and her family. And the attacks included an R, if you know what that means, if you know what that stands for. Unsolicited insertion. We'll call it that. I don't know if any of this is true or not. So the only, again, one line response. Okay, I will let you know. Thanks. That's the response Ken gets when he says, I've got an underage victim who had these terrible things happen to her. And when she decided she was going to go forward with it, even worse things started happening to her and those around her. Now, to me, things like that have to be investigated. We have to figure out, is that true? Because if the United States is sending agents to harass and attack, shoot, kill, whatever, people who are cooperating with federal authorities in another country, if they decide to speak, now we have a problem on our hands because it's not just the perpetrators. It's not just the Einsteins of the world and the global elite. Now we have low-level U.S. employees, whether they're military or police or just, renegade people hired off the street. But somehow we have Americans in a foreign country attacking foreign citizens who are cooperating with an investigation. Again, at least according to this guy. I don't know if it's true or not. I tend to think if he's saying all this by email, he at least believes it. I don't think he's just making it up. I will say shortly after he sent that first email is when Einstein unalived himself. Shortly after he sends that email, Einstein unalives himself. And then he has to send the follow-up email. He also sent an email saying, hey, based on what we're finding down here, I don't believe that guy unalived himself. Call me, we'll talk about it. I mean, this is kind of an open exchange he's talking to. My question is, why are they redacting the name of the person he's talking to? I thought only victims were being redacted. That was my understanding. Only victims were being redacted. But here we're actually redacting investigators, potentially because they're not doing anything. So that is, to me, the single most important email in the Einstein email files. Now, I've got a question. I want to raise a question for you, and I want to put some faces on the screen and some names on the screen. These are people who purport to be conservatives who are worried about the world. We have pictures up here of people. We have a bunch of names: Ben Shapiro, Seb Gorka, End Wokeness. What's that guy's real name? Can't remember his real name. Mark Levin, Scott Pressler, DC Drano, Representative Fine, Dan Bongino, Sean Hannity, Cat Turd, Tommy Robinson, Matt Walsh, Dave Rubin, Seth Dillon. None of these people have said anything about it that I can tell. None of these people are talking about any of these Einstein emails. Here's some pictures of some of these people: Marco Rubio, Dinesh D'Souza, Josh Hammer. I don't know why John Hagee's there, but John Hagee, Brandon Tatum, Jordan Peterson. I think Jordan Peterson's indisposed. I saw a picture of his daughter put up, and he was in some kind of hospital get-up. Barry Weiss, Laura Loomer. I have not seen where any of these people have responded. I've not seen where a single one of these people have responded to any of the Einstein emails. If I'm wrong, I'm open to correction. Happy to be corrected, because I think everybody should be saying something about it. My question is, why? Why are these people so quiet about it? What do these people have in common? Who finances their operation that something as big as the Einstein files would drop and nobody would say anything? That's a big problem in my head. This is another dividing line here. Okay, we had one in 2016, and a lot of these people failed the test. In 2016, we had Donald Trump, 2015, descend down the golden escalator. And we got on the right a series of never Trumpers. These people who would never support Trump under any circumstance, because he said, I'm going to come in and drain the swamp. I'm going right after the power brokers. We're going to turn the government back to the American people. And you saw people like Ben Shapiro, Mark Levin, Ted Cruz, Josh Hammer, Dave Rubin. You saw these people fight every step of the way, tooth and nail, to keep Donald Trump from taking power, even after he won the primary. Even after he won the primary, they were still going back and saying, we're going to vote for Ted Cruz. We're going to encourage people to do a floor fight, take the primary results away from Donald J. Trump, and give them over to Ted Cruz. Yes, someone mentioned the Lincoln Project. Forgot about them. And so I look at this and I think, hey, this is, now granted, Donald Trump has not been ideal over the last year, to say the least. But I do believe, at least back in 2016, he was a vast improvement over Hillary Clinton. And even this year, probably a vast improvement over Kamala Harris, though I look down the list at all the issues and I think, kind of ruling just like she would have, I think. Maybe the one area is the border's not wide open. But I look at this list and I think, hey, this is 2.0. This is the second time. This is the second time that there's been a massive story where conservatives should have jumped on board. First with Donald Trump in 2016, and the second time with the Einstein files release. Some of these people went to D.C. and got the binders of Einstein Files Part 1 from Pam Bondi. Some people did. And when they walked out, it was like joyous celebration. What they found out when they got home is most of those files were already public. Almost all of them were already public. In some cases, in a less redacted form than were included in their binders. Irrelevant, totally irrelevant. But now that we've gotten a substantial release, now granted, we're told only about half the files have been released so far. There's still half the files being held back. But I think this is the type of story where you need to take note and say who's on our team and who's not. Because if your favorite commentator is not mentioning the Einstein files in any capacity right now, if they're not pulling up at least one email and saying this drop is important, you need to go back and start looking through these. All you got to do is get on X and scroll. Every third story I see is somebody finding a different email. There are literally, I think, millions of them people are combing through. This is a crowdsourced effort. They just dumped them in a file. But if your favorite commentator hadn't even mentioned it yet, not even a short quip, they're bought and paid for. I have to believe that. That's my opinion. I can't say for a fact I know they're bought and paid for, but I believe they're bought and paid for. They have to be, in my opinion. Yeah, 3 million files. I expect, maybe it's because of the weekend, and these people are Shabbat Shaloming all day yesterday. I don't know. But I'm hoping by tomorrow, we start to see some considerable output from these people. We start to see at least a mention of the fact that these dropped, at least a mention of the fact that these things are happening and that this release is real. Because if not, I got to write every one of these people off. I am writing off as a credible source of information anyone who does not, by the end of tomorrow, have at least one Einstein-related post up. Admitting people have seen these emails and that they are disturbing. And let me tell you, they are disturbing. It's not the content of my show to sit here and go through all of them, but I encourage you to. They're shocking. They're terrifying. There's references to people being sacrificially killed. There's references to all sorts of crimes against children. There's references to some of the most horrid, depraved, disgusting conduct imaginable from some of the largest political names ever to surface in this country, including, yes, the President of the United States. Now, I find it hard to believe every single fact mentioned in every single email is wrong, which means at least some of it is true. I also find it hard to believe and refuse to believe that every single fact mentioned in every single email is true. Which means if I rule out both of those possibilities, there are factual circumstances being described in the 3 million or so files that have been released. And if that's the case, we need to scour them, because it could be as high as 10% of the facts are right, or as high as 90% of the facts are right. And no matter whether it's 10% or 90%, we need to go through and start looking at these names and saying, who are these people? Can we ever trust these people again? Now, they might have a good explanation for why their names should not be in there and that the information's wrong. Good. Tell me. I'm listening. I'm happy to hear your explanation, sir. Do you have an explanation? Can you? I'll give you the mic. I'll invite you on the program. Come on. Anybody named in those files has a free invitation. I'm on 4 nights a week, 6 or 7 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time. You're welcome to come on. I'll give you up to 3 hours. I'll give you up to an hour and a half. You have free reign to explain why your name shouldn't be in there. I do find it interesting that one of the people who's coming back to podcasting tomorrow was the former deputy director of the FBI, Dan Bongino. And Dan Bongino apparently told the world that there wasn't much in the Epstein files. Einstein files, ladies and gentlemen. I do apologize for saying the wrong name. I would never say that on purpose. I find it interesting, though, that he was the deputy director of the FBI and the files weren't released while he was there. And he got on TV with a straight face and said, I've seen all the evidence. There's just not much there. If there was, I'd be charging it left and right. You guys know I would. Well, it looks, Mr. Bongino, I've started reading these emails. I've read hundreds, maybe thousands of them by now. I'm pretty sure there's evidence in there. Or are you saying every single email is wrong? Is that your position, Mr. Bongino? Every single email in those emails is wrong? Every single email cannot be supported? You couldn't build a case on any of them? Is that your position? Because that's an interesting position if that's true. And he might say, well, as a matter of law, but his show tomorrow better be wall-to-wall Einstein files. If his show tomorrow is not wall-to-wall Einstein files, after having been the deputy director of the FBI, and he can finally come out and say, oh my gosh, I've been waiting to talk to you guys about this. I can't wait to tell everybody everything I know about this based on what's been released. If that's not his position tomorrow, watch out. It better be. It better be his position. Absolutely better be his position. All right, let me get to, I want to do one more story before I get to the Tyler Robinson deal. I want to do one more just because it's interesting to me and it's fun to me. And when I find interesting, fun things, I like to talk about it. My show. I apologize if I'm moving around a little bit. All right. I'm not going to play this whole video. This video is amazing. I don't know if you've seen it. JP Sears put out a video based on the Erica Kirk Zoom call about the merch and all that. It was great. 1.5 million people have seen it. If you have not seen it, I encourage you to track it down and find it. It's great. But I don't want to play the whole thing because I want you to go to his site and watch it when you get a chance. So bookmark it after the show. Go watch it. Email it to yourself. Text it to yourself. Flag it. However it is you identify stuff. The reason I want to mention this is JP Sears is a comedian. He does a comedy special based on this, and Tyler Bowyer crawls out from under a rock and has a one-word answer: disgusting. Now, that, if that's all he had said, I would not be showing this because, of course, he thinks it's disgusting. He thinks it's disgusting because it's hilarious, and it's true. Everybody who saw that Zoom call had a visceral response, had a visceral reaction. It's devastating to Erica Kirk. Absolutely devastating to her credibility, devastating to TPUSA, devastating to their ability to go forward as an ongoing concern with any sort of credibility for most people. So, of course, he would find it disgusting. But if it was just him finding it disgusting, it wouldn't have a problem. Here's what I thought was funny. TPUSA is we'll just call it an intelligence op to avoid the algorithmic people here. TPUSA is a foreign intel, American intel, religious donor op. And this is Tyler's chance to shine. Tyler Robinson should come in and respond to Weimar Will here and say, that's absolutely insane. That is nuts. That is absolutely not true. And the fact that you're saying that is so ignorant. Here's how I know it's not true. XYZ, ABC, 1, 2, 3. But he doesn't deny it, ladies and gentlemen. I'm always more fascinated by what people don't say than what they do say. He doesn't deny it. He has every right here, every opportunity to come in. Every opportunity to come in and say, that is nonsensical. That is a low IQ position. That is a low budget position. It's demonstrably false. It's defamatory. It's wrong. No, that's not at all what Tyler Bowyer says. Instead, he gets foul. Shut the blank up. F word up. That's his response. Shut the blank up. Ladies and gentlemen, that's as good as an admission to me. To me, that's an admission. At this point, we can say they had an opportunity to deny it. They had an opportunity to address it, and they chose not to. Therefore, I think we're safe concluding at this point that it is, in fact, an intelligence and religious op. That's my take of that. Because if it wasn't, you would have said it's not. You're probably better off, Tyler, not responding. You're probably better off staying under your rock, staying in your hole. Because it's a really bad look when you come out and get involved and don't deny it. A really bad look. Because here I was wondering if it was true. I asked myself over and over, is it an op? Is it an intelligence op? I'm working on a story that's going to blow your mind with TPUSA, by the way. I was going to do it tonight, but I'm not going to do it yet. I'm just not quite ready. When we do it, it'll blow your mind. You'll see that it is. But I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet. I don't want to come off half-cocked. I don't want to come off and expose this program to some sort of defense or something where they get to say, oh, by the way, that's not true. So I'm just gonna lay back, continue working on the story, and when I get there, you're going to see something pretty shocking. All right, let me show you a rule. This is the Utah State Court website. This is about electronic media coverage of court proceedings. There's been a question. I've raised the question. It's been raised on this program many times. Will we get to see the Tyler Robinson trial on television? Ah, dang it. There we go. The answer might be yes. The answer might be yes. Here is the rule: presumption of electronic media coverage and restrictions on coverage. This is the rule, and I'm bringing this rule up so you'll be well aware of what the rule says when I go through some filings that were filed where the defense team, not the state, I was really shocked by this. It is Tyler Robinson's defense that wants to hold this trial in secret. We'll get to that in a minute. I was frankly shocked when I saw it. I shelled out some shekels, pulled down some filings from the Utah State website, which is nearly impossible to navigate. One of the worst court websites I've ever tried to navigate in my entire life. And I think it's that way on purpose. To me, a state court filing website should be so intuitive that a guy who's been practicing law for 20 years should not have any struggles whatsoever pulling down documents. He shouldn't be wasting time running searches that are not fruitful, not coming up with what you... The UI, the user interface, should be so plain that when I type in Tyler Robinson's name and I type in Utah County, it should come back what I'm looking for. I had to run a search like 8 different times. And keep in mind, they charge you with every search, not necessarily with every document you pull. They charge you for that as well. But they charge you for every search. It's nominal, 20 cents a search. But it's the point. I don't want to waste $1.60 searching if I could get a search back in 20 cents. Starting to sound like Ben Shapiro. All right, let me get to this here. Presumption of electronic media coverage and restrictions on coverage. There is a presumption. This is a presumption in Utah courts. There is a presumption that electronic media coverage by a news reporter shall be permitted in public proceedings where the predominant purpose of the electronic media coverage request is journalism or dissemination of news to the public. So that's the general rule. The general rule is that electronic media coverage, meaning televisions and sound and all that, the general rule is that these are permissible. These are allowed. The judge may prohibit or restrict electronic media coverage in those cases only if, meaning there are times when a judge may exclude televisions, may exclude audio coverage, but only if the judge finds the reasons for doing so are sufficiently compelling to outweigh the presumption. And they even give you some factors here, some ways to weigh it out. When determining whether this presumption has been overcome and whether such coverage should be prohibited or restricted, a judge shall consider some or all of the following factors. In other words, you have to make a determination based on these factors. Not all of them. These aren't elements. These are factors. But you have to satisfy at least some of them and not just identify that they exist, but identify that they exist in such a capacity that they overcome the presumption. In other words, there's this presumption that exists, but it is a rebuttable presumption. Presumption, factor 1, whether there is a reasonable likelihood that media coverage will prejudice the rights of the parties to a fair proceeding. We can think of examples where that might take place. Whether there's a reasonable likelihood that the electronic media coverage will jeopardize the safety or well-being of an individual. We can think of cases where that might exist. Whether there's a reasonable likelihood that the electronic media coverage will jeopardize the interests or well-being of a minor. That's not at play here. There are no minors involved here. Whether there's a reasonable likelihood that electronic media coverage will constitute an unwarranted invasion of privacy. Well, that's not the case here. There's no private facts. Questions whether or not he unalived Charlie Kirk. Whether electronic media coverage will create adverse effects greater than those caused by the coverage without recording or transmitting images or sound. That's a little vague to me, but I wouldn't, if I'm a judge, I'm not hanging my decision on that one. The adequacy of the court's facilities. Well, we don't have a problem there because they've had cameras and sound in the courtroom already. The facilities are obviously adequate. I'll go back and give you some examples. Hold, please. The public interest in and newsworthiness of the proceedings. In other words, if it's a newsworthy proceeding where there's a lot of public interest, you have to consider that. We're not talking about some guy who did a strong-armed robbery at the 7-Eleven. Potentially beneficial effects of allowing public observation of the proceeding through electronic media coverage. Beneficial effects. So again, this would weigh in favor of the television coming in. What's a we'll go through the examples in a second. Any other factor. So this is the catch-all down here. So let's go through some of these. A reasonable likelihood the electronic media coverage will prejudice the rights of the parties to a fair proceeding. I think of things that are so shocking to the conscience that no reasonable person could look past it and say, if I'm aware of that, then I cannot rule fairly. I will not allow the law to let him off. So think of crimes against children. Think of particularly heinous crimes against, just things that shock the conscience, right? Maybe someone so mutilated a corpse or something that they just like, any person who looks at it is going to say, this guy's just an animal. This isn't even a human being. Like, this isn't a crime of passion. This isn't premeditated. This is like psychopathy. This guy's nuts. We can't possibly let him out. Well, what if the evidence weighs in favor of him getting out? Yeah, but did you see what he did? So I think that would be an example there. I don't see that as an issue in this case. People get shot every day. I mean, we have television coverage of gunshot victims all the time. We had television coverage of O.J. Simpson. Whether there's a reasonable likelihood that it will jeopardize the safety of an individual. Let's say there's a crime against children. I think a lot of these are aimed at crimes against children. I don't think they're aimed at routine gunshot wounds. But let's say there's a situation where nobody on earth would conclude that person should continue breathing, right? I mean, just horrific, unimaginable crimes, the type of crimes where you think of, or let's say it's somebody whose face has never been seen. And there's a chance they're going to get off and walk free again one day. But if you advertise their face all over television, they'll never be able to walk safely down the street ever again. So it's jeopardizing the safety or well-being, or maybe it jeopardizes the safety or well-being of a witness. Maybe the witnesses are undercover this or undercover that, and there's this giant ring, or maybe we have large trafficking rings, or maybe we have drug empires or something, and everybody's safety will be at risk if we put these people's faces on TV. Again, this is a routine gunshot wound. The well-being of a minor, we talked about, that doesn't really exist. Unwarranted invasion of privacy doesn't really exist. This is kind of a weird one. Create adverse effects greater than that's what you're asking the judge to do. Are there adverse effects that outweigh the interest? In other words, this is weight, by the way. This is not, if you identify one, it's out. This is a weight. We have the scales of justice. And we're putting facts over here. Oh, well, it could jeopardize safety a little bit. Well, I know, but the public needs to know that it's being conducted fairly, right? Well, yeah, but there's young children's identities that we're trying to protect. Okay, that might be a lot. Well, and so you just weigh it. I don't think anybody can look at this and conclude that these factors are impossible for Tyler Robinson to get a fair trial or to be safe. If the judge prohibits or restricts it, he has to make a particularized finding. That's from the rule here. I'll pull it back up. So if he does restrict it, and I'm getting the sense he won't, but if he does restrict it, he has to make a finding on the record, either orally or in writing. And they shall relate to the specific circumstances of the proceedings rather than the judge's own desires, right? It has to, the law says, judge, you got to let the camera in unless you find these factors are satisfied. And there's a presumption that we let the cameras in. So it better be good. It better be good. Now, I raise all that in light of a filing that was filed a few days ago. And I don't want to bore you to tears. And so I figured the best way to do this is to just show you the response to the filing. Because the filing was by Tyler Robinson's team. But all their arguments are articulated by, you know what? I could probably make this bigger. Let me see if I can. Oh, look at that. Yeah. All their arguments are articulated by the state. For example, the defense asked this court to take the extraordinary step of categorically terminating or substantially restricting electronic media coverage of all proceedings in this case. Shame on the defense. Shame on the defense. And I'll say this right now. I've been very cautious, just like I was with Erica Kirk. I've been very cautious, and I spent weeks, maybe months, telling you guys, hold off on judgment on Erica Kirk. Hold off on judgment on Erica Kirk. Let's be fair to her. She might be a grieving widow. She might be scared out of her mind. She might think her safety's in jeopardy. She might be scared for the safety of her children. Let's not jump to conclusions. I did that for months. You guys, I see the people discussing my stemware. It's a classy joint, ladies and gentlemen. But I am over the defense now. If you guys want to conduct a trial where people like me, other lawyers, members of the public cannot look over your shoulder and make sure he is getting a zealous defense, and that all possible defenses are being raised, all reasonable defenses are being raised. The decentralized public investigation in the Tyler Robinson case has been nothing short of remarkable. I've never seen anything like it. I've never seen anything like it in public. The Vegas shooting did not get this much treatment. There was a few days where a lot of people were talking about it, then it sort of went away. John Colin and Jason Goodman talked about it for a while. Oh, man, that was a wild members interview. Holy mackerel. Someone asked me what I thought. I said it was like walking a cat without a leash, like walking a cat around the neighborhood without a leash. I felt like I was running him down. Like, hey, whoa, come back on the walkway here, man. But people should be able to look over their shoulder and say, hey, the decentralized investigation has raised a lot of potential defenses for Tyler Robinson. You guys better consider them. There are people, there are camera angles. I mean, what was the woman? I can't remember her name. She went out to UVU and pointed around and saw all the different cameras that are up around the campus that would have had a great view of everything. What was her name? Gamma something? She was great. Ian went out there early on. Have you guys talked to the concrete company who was asked to dig up the scene and pave over it? Have you requested all the camera footage that's around? Have you seen where Kelly Rabin spotted somebody that looked like potentially on the Sorensen Center, not the Losi Center, but a figure in white coming and going in the screen? Have you seen that? Does the state have an explanation for that if you raise it? Have you talked to the people who recorded these footage about what they saw? Glenn Ham. That was her name, Glenn Ham. She did a great job. Walked around campus and pointed out all the different cameras that had a great angle. I like to give credit to people where I can find it. Have you guys interviewed the security team and asked Dan Flood why he's giving baseball signals? Have you asked Frank Turek why he's giving baseball signals that Dan Flood looks at before he goes into his countdown? Have you asked Rick Cutler what he was doing with his sleeve and what was in his hand? Because there's an image of something in his hand. I think, unless that was altered. I saw an image. Have you asked Terrell Farnsworth how he knew to run immediately to that spot, pull out his camera, and start filming? I saw that video in person, by the way. The original. It's nuts. It's nuts. Have we asked about it? Have you talked to any of these people, defense team? Because if you're not going to let us into the courtroom, if you're going to do everything in secret filings, if you're going to do everything under the cover of darkness, if you're not going to let us watch you present evidence, if you're not going to let us watch you call witnesses, if you're not going to let us watch you examine the witnesses, cross-examine the witnesses, then how do we know the public interest is being served by this prosecution? We can't. We can't. So I go back to the filing here because this really disappointed me. I like to have turned on the defense based on this filing alone. The motion, this is the state talking about the defense motion. The motion ultimately rests on a far broader premise. Listen to this. In a modern, high-profile criminal prosecution involving a politically charged event, transparency itself is incompatible with fairness, safety, dignity, and the administration of justice. What the defense is arguing is, at least in the state's opinion here, and I read their brief, I think this fairly characterizes it, that this is such a high-profile case that it would be impossible. That fact alone makes it impossible for a camera to be in the courtroom. And ultimately, it comes down to is they don't want people looking over their shoulder. They know there are hundreds of thousands of criminal defense attorneys in this country, people who have tried cases, and they don't want them second-guessing their every move. That's basically what it's about. Here is the state's argument in a nutshell, and I agree with this. Where a case has already entered the public sphere in a significant and irreversible way, such as this one, we're 4.5 months in, and we're still talking about it, the controlled, court-regulated use of electronic media serves the very interest the defense invokes: accuracy, accountability, public confidence, and the legitimacy of judicial outcomes. There is no way in the world where I will have any confidence whatsoever in this trial unless I can personally observe it. I'm not going to count on some local Salt Lake City reporter to summarize for me in a 3-minute package on the evening news what happened in 8 hours of testimony. And that's what they're trying to force us to do. They're going to put somebody in there with no phone, no recorder, no camera, just taking notes, and then they have to run back to their Salt Lake City TV station, the ABC affiliate up there, and they have to summarize it. And you know how news channels are. They only give you about 3 minutes for the biggest story of the night. And every night, in a case that could go on for months, we're going to have to rely. The defense wants us to just rely on some untrained, non-lawyer reporter's version of what happened that day. No, absolutely not. Not in this case. No, ma'am. Absolutely not. I think the defense has lost all credibility, and they're going to have to struggle to get it back. They're going to have to really struggle to get it back. Here is the bulk of the defense's motion. When they developed that rule that I just showed you a minute ago, the presumption, the rebuttable, granted, and I'll be fair, it's a rebuttable presumption. But when they adopted that rule, 4-401.01, when they adopted that rule, they had a report that went along with it. And that report is available. It's publicly reviewable. And the defense read that report, and that they said the research is outdated, methodologically flawed, incapable of accounting for modern social media, political polarization, and algorithmic amplification. That's their basic argument. And I'm here to tell you that's exactly what they argued. But Judge, we understand that typically, historically, this would have been the case. But you don't understand how X works. You don't understand YouTube, Judge, or TikTok. You don't understand how people are able to access information and then weigh in on it, Judge. And when they weigh in on it, other people are allowed to weigh in on that. And Judge, we can't have that. We can't have Baron Coleman watching from Middle Tennessee what we're doing over here in Provo, Utah, second guessing what we're doing and telling his audience his impression of what happened that day. And then they go on X and they go on Facebook and they go on Instagram and they go on TikTok. And then they articulate their impression based on what Barron said. And now we have information that may not be accurate out there in the public sphere. Who cares? Who cares? How many of you are going to be on the jury? None. Trust me. If you're watching this show right now, you are not going to be on the jury. I don't care if you live in Provo. I don't care if you get a notice for jury trial. You're not going to be on the jury. You know how I know that? They're going to ask you. In all likelihood, they won't ask you my name directly, but I bet you they'll raise other people's names. I almost guarantee you one of the jury questions is going to be about Candace Owens. Almost guarantee it. If it's not, then the prosecution has not done their job, and probably the defense. And they may encompass it in kind of a Candace Owens or anyone who's covered it in a similar manner. Have you watched it? Have you formed an opinion? I mean, she's the number one podcast on earth. But that doesn't mean you can't go get a fair jury trial. That doesn't mean you have to try the case in private. That doesn't mean we don't get a chance to look at your motions. That doesn't mean we don't get a chance to listen to your arguments on those motions. That doesn't mean we don't get a chance to review the probable cause hearing to determine whether there's even a preponderance of evidence that Tyler Robinson could be charged. That's the May hearing that we're waiting on. The defendant urges the court to discount the presumption of access and to treat electronic coverage as presumptively dangerous in this case. Now, I want to pause here because I want to tell you what I think happened. I don't think this is aimed at us. I think there was a coordinated effort very early on, long before people knew that Candace Owens, Baron Coleman, Coach Colin, or anybody else would still be covering this case 5 months later. I don't think that even crossed their mind. But I do think they wanted the defense to make a motion like this. And the people I'm talking about are people like Jack Posobiec, TPUSA people. There was a very early concerted effort. And frankly, the vice president got in on it in like day 2. where they talked about, oh, we're going to dismantle the leftist organizations that caused this. We're going after these groups. They hadn't even caught the guy yet. I mean, do you remember there was a prime minister of a foreign country, our greatest ally, who was blaming leftist groups in the hours after, like his body was still not room temperature yet. It was still cooling off when the argument began to be made that it was a leftist and that he was shot and that there was no question about it, open and shut. It was not any kind of weird deal. It was a very plain, straightforward case. And I think that was a coordinated media attempt to get the defense to file this exact type of motion. I do. I believe it was a coordinated, orchestrated, planned hit so that the defense could go out there and say, everybody on social media is saying he's guilty. Everybody on social media is saying he did it. And we absolutely cannot allow this to continue any further. We have to stop it. We have to shut down all coverage of this case because it's necessarily going to taint them. Because we're going to have to raise these issues, and they've got all these people just lathered up, just foaming at the mouth, like little wolverines with their little sharp claws out, ready to just tear the defendant to shreds. I think they wanted it to be closed off. I honestly believe they wanted the defense to make a motion exactly like this. Little did we know, in all likelihood, we're the cause of it. That's kind of where I'm leaning now. Because now they're realizing that because of the decentralized investigation, because of the fact that we've got people looking at all kinds of options, I also don't think they considered Erica Kirk was a lunatic. I don't think that crossed their mind either. I don't think they realized how badly she would do. I don't think anyone realized how badly she would do. Can I let you in on a little secret? I haven't told too many people this. In the immediate aftermath, I mean like the hours afterwards, I sat down with a friend of mine. Well, sat down. I was in this chair right here, looking at that computer right there. He was at his house in another state. But he's a keen political insider. He understands the players. He knows these people. And we were talking, and I said, who takes over from here? They're not just going to close up shop. There's no way. And he said, no. Here are the names you need to watch out for. He said the first name I would watch out for is Tyler Bowyer. Tyler Bowyer is going to try to get control of the organization overnight. He said, if Tyler Bowyer can't get control of it for whatever reason, the next person I would watch is Benny Johnson. And if for some reason they look at Benny Johnson and think that's just too risky, and I think that would be a very risky selection, much riskier, frankly, than Tyler Bowyer, then I would look at Ben Shapiro. He said, I think Ben Shapiro will make a very strong move at taking over TPUSA. There's just too much money. He won't be able to help himself. I think all three of those people tried. I don't know about Benny Johnson, but I'm pretty confident Tyler Bowyer and Ben Shapiro tried. And so I said, what do we do? Like, I was still kind of on the TPUSA needs to be saved. Again, I wasn't on the Charlie Kirk bandwagon at the end. The last few years, his foreign policy had way gone different from mine. I liked Charlie when he was an economic libertarian. I was not as big a fan of his when he got into the foreign policy realm. But I said, what are we going to do? Who are we supporting? And he said, you know who I would like to see take over? And I said, who? He said, Erica Kirk. You know what my answer was? Who the hell is that? Who is Erica Kirk? His wife. Oh, okay. He said his wife will be the only person who would be able to continue it. I mean, this was like day 2. I don't even think they'd arrested Tyler Robinson yet. And so, when her name was floated 5 or 6 days later, I breathed a sigh of relief. Good. because I thought the Tyler Bowyer and Ben Shapiro options were horrific. I heard that and I was like, heart palpitations. Oh gosh, this is horrific. You know how much money they have? These guys are nuts. So when I heard Erica Kirk, I thought, okay. I had seen her do her speech a couple of days after. Now I've gone back since and looked at that speech. Did you guys see Candace's treatment of that speech a couple of days ago? She went back and looked at the first speech that Erica Kirk gave, the one where she's standing next to Charlie Kirk's chair. I didn't realize at the time it was nothing but a TPUSA commercial. My heart was breaking. I was like, oh, poor thing. I actually think I went live that night after her speech. I know I did. I waited for her to give her speech. You guys didn't know me back then, but I waited for her to give her speech before I went live after her speech. Pretty confident. Go back and find that show and fire it back up. I was supportive. But that very early concerted effort, I think, was designed to get the defense to do exactly this. But I misread it because I think now they're hiding something. If I'm the defense, I want every camera in America in that courtroom. I want them all. Bring every camera in there because I'm going to have my defendant prepped. And I'm going to have him be the most sympathetic guy in that courtroom. And we're going to raise every single possibility that the judge will allow me to put in front of a jury. And it's going to be intense. We're going to raise every possibility. We're running down every rabbit hole. We're holding nothing back. We're turning over every rock. If a judge is going to let me bring up an alternative theory, we're going to put it in front of the jury. Now, the judge may clear some of them out and say, no, you're not raising that issue. But trust me, I'm making the judge say that in front of a camera before the trial. Otherwise, we're bringing it up. But I will say this. I have now, in my mind, lost almost all. I won't say all, but almost all confidence in the defense team. And it's going to be a very difficult task for them to get it back. I'm not telling you to lose confidence. If you've not lost confidence, that's fine with you. You guys, you do you, boo-boo. But for me, I've lost all confidence. Lost absolutely all confidence in these people. All right. Let me roll some of this beautiful bean footage. I saw somebody in the comments asking about my lovely stemware. This was a gift. I would never purchase something like this. I'm too cheap. I'm just being honest, ladies and gentlemen. I'm too cheap. That's a luxury item. A luxury item. A normal instinct would be to keep you and your children safe. Jumping into the spotlight. CEO is the opposite of doing that. Is she not worried because she knows who did it and knows she is not at risk? That's a question a lot of people have asked. A lot of people have asked that question. Otherwise, why is she not running for the hills? Look what Jackie Kennedy did. She ran 3 different places trying to get away from the spotlight. She didn't want anyone to know where they were. If undeniable evidence is unearthed, do you think the person who really unalived CK will be prosecuted? If so, who would press charges? This is a globalized effort seeking justice for CK. I think it depends on if that is before or after Tyler Robinson is convicted, takes a plea, or is dead. Because if he's convicted, takes a plea, or dies, I think the case will be closed for good. And I don't care what evidence comes up afterwards. I think that'll be the end of it. Could Andrew K. be CO's insider? How do you fire 40 people and miss the leak? He's been the source of a lot of important info, double agent being the bad guy to hide in plain sight. That was my suspicion early on. I do not any longer have that suspicion. Could be. I mean, maybe it just got past me. But yeah, that was my suspicion. No more. I think Andrew Colvett is a... When I found out, and I do believe this is true, again, opinion, it very well could not be true, but I think it's true. When I found out that he released that statement with a quote from the doctor and it turned out it was a lie, And then he let Erica Kirk call him a liar and say he just made it up, when the facts seem to suggest, in my opinion, that Erica Kirk was actually on that call and those words actually came from her mouth, not the doctor's mouth. And she tried to act like he just went rogue and he just took it. You're in bad actor territory. You're no longer a good faith actor. I mean, you've lost all credibility with me. If I was Andrew Colvett and I was on a 3-way call with Erica Kirk, me, and the doctor, and the conversation was between Erica Kirk. Oh, I can't drop the doctor. Let me make these two. Eric, I can't do that either. Let me make these two, Erica Kirk and the doctor. I almost gave y'all an ugly symbol there. Erica Kirk says it wasn't her, and they say it was you. But you know for a fact it was these two. And in particular, it was Erica Kirk. Yeah, see, that's the ring finger, ladies and gentlemen. But you knew it was Erica Kirk the whole time that talked about the Superman neck, asked about the frangible, could have been a frangible round, doing everything she can to try to put words into the doctor's mouth that would support a 30-06 from the Losi Center. Knowing the surgeon's going, I don't know. That doesn't, I've never seen a bullet do that, frankly, but, I guess anything's possible. And then you let her call you a liar, sir? Have some self-respect. Have some self-respect. No salary's worth that. Red Baron hoodie, not tonight, sir. Vatican City blue. Sorry to disappoint you. Hi, Baron. I made my hubby watch for the first time tonight. Can you please give him a shout and tell him to keep watching with? Tell him to keep watching with you. God is good. God is great, Warrior Doberman mom. Good evening, sir. Welcome to the program. I hope you've enjoyed yourself. And yes, you keep watching. It's good for your mental health. High IQ or skip the Grammys for. I didn't know the Grammys were on. Is that a thing? Are they really on? Who would watch an award show? Is that really tonight? Yeah, it is. Hey, let me tell you about awards. I despise award shows. I don't watch sports award shows. I certainly don't watch movies and music award shows. Theater award show? Would I watch a Tony's? Are you out of your mind? I'd sooner go on a hunger strike for a week. The Tonys. Come on. But I feel kind of the same way about the Grammys and the Oscars and the sports award shows. Listen, go do your job. If you do a good job, we'll buy tickets. We'll watch it. We'll download your movie. We'll listen to your songs on Spotify. We'll play them on your YouTube channel. That's fine. But what I don't want to see is you get up in a room with a bunch of other millionaires patting you on the back for being the best millionaire in the room. No, hard pass. I don't want to go to an award ceremony where a bunch of rich people tell one of the rich people they're a great rich person. Nope, not watching. Sorry. Mike Theory evidence. 1, T-shirt moves first. Correct. 2, gun lies. I don't know what that means. 3, people sweep crime area. Correct. And pave over it. Don't forget that. Pave over it. 4, FBI secures hospital video. Correct. 5, oh, yeah. Sorry, I was 2 steps ahead of you. Crime scene immediately paved over. 6, mic pieces in SUV. I'm going to correct that just because we don't know they're mic pieces, but there was what appeared to be fragmented plastic pieces. I will say that. 7, SUV immediately cleaned in auction. Correct. 7, bird, hands, and body. I believe that is correct as well. And I think you can see the injury to his left hand in the casket when Erica Kirk released that horrific video of her grieving over her husband's body in the casket. How I didn't stop allowing myself to give her grace at that moment, I will never understand. Looking back, that was the biggest mistake I've made in this investigation. Honestly. You know how people say if they could have a time machine, they go back and they fix something? They go back to their childhood when they told a lie at school that changed the course of their life. No. I would go back to that moment where I saw that video, had the same response everybody else had. What are you doing, woman? Why are you videoing you grieving over your husband? You're whispering. Stop it. You're gross, lady. This is too much. We all had the same reaction. And I got on the air the next day. I don't even know if I played the video. I think I did. Played the video and said, maybe she grieves differently. I don't know. I wouldn't have done that. But who am I to speak for her? She's a grieving widow. I've never been a grieving widow. Trust your gut, folks. If anyone makes you go, run, be gone, get away from that person. Ugh, disgusting. I still get EBGBs talking about that. What is it? Oh, no. The spitters support her. Vatican City ceiling blue. That's right. Even got the cloud color in here. That's exactly right. Alpaca Renee, thank you so much. Always very generous. How much do you think Charlie knew about what was going on with TPUSA? Is it true that TPUSA is full of M people? Honestly, I don't know. I mean, I think he knew something was going on because it grew really fast. And even the most confident person would have to look around and say, like 4 years ago, we were making $11 million. Why are they giving us $100 million now? What's going on out here? I don't know, man. I hate that. I hate that I don't know. I wish I had confidence that he was just this innocent actor. But I don't know. I don't know. Thank you for your question. Happy Sunday, Baron and chat. Yeah, happy Sunday, people. Baron, Lou Rockwell ran an article closing in on CK assassination, commending you for your work. I like Lou Rockwell. I like his stuff. I like all the Von Mises stuff. Candace and John Bray's exploding mic theory. Oh, my work, Candace and John Bray's exploding mic theory. Your interview with Jason Goodman was great. I'm a sponsor. Thank you for being a member there, Mystic. I enjoyed that interview. I feel like I got out the two things I wanted to get out of it. One is I wanted to identify the actual root cause of the dispute between Jason Goodman and Blake Bednarz, and I feel like I got to that. The moment of the dispute was about, I didn't know this, now I know, about the frames per second in a video that was being shared. Who knew? So now I know that. So I feel like I got that question answered. So if for nothing else, that was satisfactory. The second thing I wanted to get out of him was, and for those that didn't catch the members show, it was wild. The second thing I wanted to get out of him was he's been involved in a lot of these decentralized investigations, and he's been approached with a lot of misinformation and misinformation agents. And I wanted to ask him, how do you recognize these people? But I had to step him through a series of things. I thought that would take about 10 or 15 minutes. Took an hour and a half, but that happens sometimes. But we had a good conversation, and I feel like I accomplished the two things I wanted to accomplish. And so for that, I was happy. Lots of similarities between Holmes, Theranos, EK, and Lori. Offer product, but doesn't deliver. Wanting fame, money, get caught, fire hundreds of people. I was trying to draw more of the parallel between Holmes and Kirk. You went a different way on that, and that's okay. It's okay. I'm willing to allow it. Hi, Baron. My sister April loves your show. Send supers you. Well, hey, April. Can we give her, please give her a big shout out? Yeah, of course, April. Thank you. Also, do you think Michael Knowles is Candace's source at the Daily Wire? No, I don't. I like Michael Knowles, but I don't think so. A master class about demonic possession would be so helpful. People would probably be willing to pay a little extra for your time. Maybe people in the group who are blessed with more could help some of those who aren't. Thank you, Diane Mooneyham. I do plan on doing a demonic class. Our demonic discussion. I would like to have an expert join me, but I got to get down there. This is not a priest that just is dying to take phone calls. So I need to go down where he is. He lives a little farther south than I do. And I got to run in there and catch him at a time when he's in. So I'm going to call the office. I am going to be there Tuesday, I think. So I will, I'll stop in the office Tuesday if he's there and talk to him about it. So I'm working on it. It'll be a regular show. I don't intend to do it as a member show. I don't think I do it as a member show. Maybe I would. Let me think about that. One. Cartoon Baron's very good. I thought that guy was great. Very talented guy. I don't know who that was. Baron, love your show. You're the John Wayne of the CK investigation. Ian Carroll is the Magnum PI. Well, with that mustache, who couldn't be? I wish I could pull off that mustache. Mine's too, as my 5-year-old tells me, Daddy, your beard is white. Thanks, kid. Appreciate that. Candace is the Jessica Fletcher. Ooh, Murder, She Wrote. But Candace is like young. Murder, She Wrote. That lady, how old was that lady when Murder, She Wrote was on? I always thought she was like 80. Let me see how old she was. Angela Lansbury in 1984. So let me look up how old that show ran for roughly 10 years, mid-80s to mid-90s. So let me see when she was born. This is going to depress me, I think. So she was 60 when it started and 70 when it ended. Okay, fair enough. If you're approaching my age, though, be very careful when you look up people's ages that you thought were old when you were younger. Very cautious. For example, don't look up the Golden Girls' ages. Just trust me. If I'm 46, stay away from the Golden Girls. They're younger than you think. Keep in mind, they were supposed to be golden, not barely silver. Hi there, is it just me, or does EK in the white pantsuit look like a different person than what we are seeing now? Like the hair is totally not the same. Thank you. I've not considered that. But I know what you're talking about. The white pantsuit she wore on the first day she gave the speech a couple days after the Big Bang. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It might just be you. How do you deal with the opinions of people that still believe the mainstream narrative? I mean, I don't engage them really. Oh, speaking of, did anybody watch the Brandy and Billy Nashville interviews? Guys, most people believe it, and they don't know why. It is amazing to me how many people just watch the news and believe everything it says. Like, well, Fox News said it. Fox News said. Fox News. Ben Shapiro, Daily Wire, Fox News, Ben Shapiro, Daily Wire, Fox News. Sent 3 important emails from Jay Willis. All right, Jerry Willis. Hold on, wait a minute. Was his name Jerry Willis? I tried a case against a guy. I thought his name was Jerry Willis. Are you a lawyer? You don't look like you're way too young. I don't even think that guy's still alive. I think he died. Baron, it's your high IQ that makes you look swole as a cartoon. That's what I'm talking about, Vanderstorn, Vagerstorn, Von Stern, whatever your name is. Yes. That's it. It's not the artistic license he took. Thank you for your blessings, Tiffany. Catholicism is a counterfeit religion. Walking with Christ requires nothing more than accepting he spilt blood for you. I was going to say splitting blood would be quite the miracle. Idolize, pray to no one but Christ, and darn sure don't call anyone else my father. Look into it. Catholicism being counterfeit. You don't think I've looked into it? You think all the studying I've done in my life, I came to the conclusion Catholicism was the right path for my family and me, and I never bothered to look into it? Here's the problem. Have you ever seen me trashing the Baptist Church or the Presbyterians? Have you ever seen me go after Allie Beth Stuckey or Ted Cruz talking about, or Rob McCoy saying, that Calvary Chapel stuff is bunk? Everybody has to justify their existence separate and apart from Catholicism. Because the reality is, for about 1,500 years, that's all there was. Little option if you wanted to do the Eastern Orthodox route, but that's still pretty much the same thing. And even that was only like 400 years before the advent of the 30,000 other groups. But they don't call anyone else my father. What do you call your dad? Like, you never refer to your father? My father worked at the feed and seed down the road. My father drove a 88 Ford pickup truck. You never call anyone else your father? And you never ask anyone to pray for you? What a sad life that is. That is a sad life to me. Because when I need prayers, I ask people for prayers. I'd ask my wife for prayers. Hey, will you pray for me? I got a lot going on. I got to make a decision. You know how many people I asked to pray for me when I decided I was going to leave full-time employment as a lawyer and talk to you guys 4 nights a week? A lot of people. I don't know if you call that praying to them or asking them for prayers, but I asked a lot of people to pray for me. When my stepfather was dying, I called a lot of people and asked, will you pray for him? My dad was hospitalized in very serious condition a few years ago, maybe a year or so ago. And when I looked up what he's told me he had, I thought, oh my gosh, this is going to be like fatal 20% of the time. Like there's a 1 in 5 chance he dies. You don't think I called a few people and asked them to pray for me? What a sad life if you don't do that. That breaks my heart, Butch. It really breaks my heart that you don't have anyone to ask to pray for you. Because I have a lot of people ask to pray for me. And sometimes I might come to you guys and ask you guys to pray for me. And I hope you don't consider that idolatry, because I don't. I don't at all. And I believe that the people who die are more alive than we are, and they're closer to Christ than we are. And so sometimes I request that they also pray for me. But if they can't hear it, no harm, no foul, right? It would be like me calling a deaf person and asking that person to pray for me, and that person's like, I can't hear you. I can say that because I wear hearing aids. I got proof right here if you want to see them. But so I've never understood this line of thought. As far as walking with Christ requires nothing more than accepting he spilled his blood for you. That's not what he said. And it's unfortunate that's the case, but that's not what he said. It's not what James said either. The Apostle James. James said faith without works is dead. And I believe him. It's in James 1. You could look it up. I'm not compelling you to become Catholic. I'm not that kind of guy. I'm not telling you have to be Catholic to be saved. But I do want to take the opportunity to correct some of the things you're mischaracterizing here. So if what you're telling me runs counter to what James said, and it runs counter to what Peter said, repent and be baptized, all of you. And if it just counters common sense, I mean, everybody refers to somebody as their father, right? And Paul himself referred to himself as the Father. He said, I have become your father in faith. I had no idea Paul was a counterfeit religion. Look that verse up. I'll read it for you. I have become your father in faith. 1 Corinthians 4:15. So we'll read it. And granted, it's a Catholic Bible. But actually, I just read that from Bible Gateway. I don't know what version they used. But yeah, I've become your father in faith. So that would make Paul a counterfeit religion. That's really awkward. I don't want to be the one to point that out. Of all people, the Catholics should be the one saying, maybe Paul goes a little too far at times. I'm kidding, ladies and gentlemen. I'm totally kidding. But let's just read what Paul had to say. This is 1 Corinthians chapter 4. Verse 15 here. Even if you should have countless guides to Christ, yet you do not have many fathers, for I became your father in Christ Jesus through the gospel. Well, Humbut, you need to get your Bible out. I think it's time for a Bible study. That's weird. That's very awkward that you would pay $50 to be wrong. I hate that for you. But I appreciate it. It's a generous donation. I'll put it to good work. I'll buy another Bible. I'll buy a different version. Actually, I've got like 7 other versions over here. I got a New International, New American Standard. I don't know what I'll do. I can't read that far. NRS something, New Revised Standard. All right. I must know if you've read Poisoner in Chief. I have not. I hope that doesn't disappoint you. But Baron, watching these people try to hide this trial reminds me of, I know these people like every glorious square inch of my naked body. El Rushbo, you should consider a RBP gold mic. Christ is king. I appreciate that. I really do. But I do know these people like every square inch of my glorious naked body. That is funny. I hadn't heard that in a long time. Your previous opening statement on TP 2.0 was great. Reminds me of Arthur C. Clarke's 2010, where a terminated HAL 9000 was replaced by the new and improved SAL 9000. HAL, open the door. Was that the right thing? HAL, open the door. That was 2001: A Space Odyssey. Thank you. I appreciate the high praise there. Baron, this Icelander here again, all the way from Iceland. I told you I'm going to come stay on your couch next time they're going to have Northern Lights. I want to see them in person, like the real ones, not the ones that make it down to Tennessee occasionally. It's difficult to fall asleep while laughing, but I can't miss your podcast. The cartoon cracked me up because who says this kind of stuff? You're naturally funny. I love it. I try to be, Edith. I try to be. Actually, I don't try to be. I just say what comes to my mind. I honestly, when I started watching that, I was like, when did I say all this? And I was like, oh my gosh, I do remember saying all that. It wasn't until they got to the corn and nuts that I was like, I remember saying this. I thought someone was just making it. I was like, how'd they get my voice so right? That sounds just like me. And then I know. The tangled webs they weave, if only we will learn to perceive. Thank you, Baron, for this enlightened opening statement. I'm doing my best over here. I wonder if when CK was asked about his ideal woman, he said blonde hair, blue eyes, devil horns, and a lizard tail. That's funny. Merch idea. I'm doing my best. I would wear the doo-doo out of a hoodie that said that with an RBP logo on it. Well, that's a really interesting idea. I'm doing my best. You know what that reminds me of? Have I ever shown you guys where the Donald Trump Make America Great Again hat came from? The MAGA hat? I think I know. Let me show you this picture here. And I know that Donald Trump has seen this because he is a massive fan of boxing. This is James Buster Douglas. Here. Look at that hat. He wore that hat the night he beat Mike Tyson in Tokyo. Only my best, James Douglas. That was his slogan. And his whole team had that red hat on. And it made the most amazing scene immediately after the fight when he finally knocks out the champ. He was a 42-1 underdog. Nobody on earth believed James Buster Douglas would possibly beat Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson was the most feared fighter on the planet at the time. And he walked in there, and as soon as Tyson gets counted out, ding, 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 they sound the bell, and the teams come rushing on, and all those red hats with that white writing on it come rushing into the ring. And every time I saw the red hat, the red MAGA hat, I thought, that's James Buster Douglas's hat. I know that is. I know that's his hat. So that's what I'm only doing my best. I'm doing my best. That's what that reminds me of. Baron, please read live. Please say a prayer for my little. No. We can't ask people to pray for us. We only have. Oh my goodness, this is counterfeit religion. What are you doing? You have one mediator between God and man, and that's Jesus Christ. Please say a prayer for my little girl ferret, Charlia. Oh, Charlie. Why is it spelled that way? Annabelle. Oh, Charlie Annabelle. That's because it's girl. I had to send her to be with God yesterday after a long battle with cancer. I'm so lost and cried much more than EK. Well, I will pray for you, certainly, Fertisms. First, I'll pray that you get out of this counterfeit religion of asking people to pray for you. Because if we are to believe the guy from earlier, what you just did was counterfeit. So you got to approach these people the way they approach you. It's the Donald Trump philosophy. They hit you, you hit them back. I'm just kidding. I absolutely will pray for you. I don't know if I can commit to praying for the ferret. I'm gonna be honest. I don't want to lie to you. I'm gonna pray for you. I'll pray for the heck out of you. And I'm sorry you lost your ferret. I would be devastated if I lost my dog. She's great. Somebody came by the house today, and I wasn't even thinking about the fact that this person had never met my dog. And he got to the door, and I opened the door up, and the dog lunges out. And like in the lunge, I thought, oh, I should have warned him. The dog is pretty friendly. Very small chance he's going to bite his head off. First super chat. Been watching for about a month now. Really enjoying your research. I appreciate all you're doing. Hopped on the wagon and here to stay. Welcome aboard. The water's warm. Jump in and take a swim. Watching Nefarious with Hubs. You can, it's recorded. You can watch it anytime you want. Why would you watch it while I'm on? I just kid. I kid. Great recommendation on movie. Free on Tubi. Oh, I didn't know it was free on Tubi. That's great for you to tell people. Love your show. Any chance we can watch Miss AZ pageant highlights one night? No, we're not watching Miss AZ pageant highlights. We're not watching that. Because the only thing I learned from checking her out as Miss Arizona is she didn't squat. She needs to squat more. Always feel good to watch this pod on Sundays after being a lazy degenerate all day. It really balances out my Joe tendencies. Roll that beautiful bean footage you're going to need to pick up around the house. You cannot be a lazy degenerate all day. We never miss a show. When you and Candace are on, my husband said, Baron's on. And here we are. Lots of love from Oklahoma. Go Backs! Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I genuinely do. I can feel your love from Oklahoma, lady. The Real Baron podcast on YouTube is now real 60 minutes of our time. Another hoodie where the real story behind the news is exposed. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. First time super chatter here regarding EK's IG timeline countdown from 827 and Nefarious, Two Faces, Edward, and Demon. Maybe that was the unpossessed version of EK. Thoughts on Glenn Beck and his interview with EK? I'll be honest, I've not watched the Glenn Beck interview with Charlie Kirk. Was it recent? Or is this an old interview? It's a month ago. Oh, I've seen that. I've seen clips of it. I didn't sit and watch the whole thing. That's the one where she was doing this with her eyes. Yeah, I saw that. I saw that clip for sure. Thank you. I'm not going to try to pronounce that, but thank you. Thank you for all you do, man. I watched Nefarious today. Wow, brilliant movie. Thanks for the recommendation. I love that you guys are watching it because I'm telling you guys, my understanding of Christianity has fundamentally changed after Nefarious and Exorcist Files. Like I understand now what Jesus was talking about. He said, I came to set you free. Came to set you free from sin and death. I get it now. Thank you. Baron, what do you think of the theory, Dr. Tom Cowan and other doctors and scientists, that viruses do not exist and the body's expelling toxins? I fell in that hole for a few weeks one time, maybe a few months even. I just don't, I think, let me say this. I think I found a middle ground where we can accept that viruses exist, but that viruses are not responsible for every illness that presents itself. Is that fair? So that maybe not everyone who presents with a certain set of circumstances has a viral infection. I could go down my HIV rabbit hole if you wanted me to there, but I'm not going to. And get into the Bangui definition that was used in Africa for decades. God bless everybody, Baron. I rushed out that video to get the transcript out. I'm going to redo it this week so it's watchable. Please tell Ian to load that transcript into his database. I think we have them. I got your transcript. I'll rewatch the video. I mean, I'll watch a video if you redo it. But you told me not to watch the video. You told me to read the transcript. And read it, I did. I'm a man of my word. Thank you, Bays. Always very generous when you chime in. Thank you. I didn't know Charlie was married prior to his death, but my image of him is now tarnished because he chose to marry that woman. Why? I will say I just wonder how he came to that conclusion. Like, unless she's really good actor behind the scenes, I don't see how she could keep that up all the time. I don't know. I made a 20-page timeline using you and Candace vids using Notebook LMAI. I've spent days working on it. It's not done, but I like to share it with you. You know, it's funny. Someone else showed me that app or SaaS platform or program or whatever it is you're using. Someone else showed me they were using that to search some of their content. So email it, realbaronpodcast@gmail.com. Happy to take a look at what you got. Counselor, we need more book, TV, and film recommendations ASAP. Working on the book list. Here's the problem. When I send an email, I stress over it. Like, I look at every word. I double check. I look at spacing. I look at even the meter of it. You know, does it sound aggressive? Does it sound okay? I like to be a wordsmith. I like to speak. I like to talk. I like to broadcast. I like to write. I mean, you should see how much I stress over those openings. And I still, when I'm reading them, like, man, I wish I'd have changed that. That didn't come out the way I wanted it to. And sometimes I'm changing them on the fly, which is where you hear me stumble over them a little bit. But the same thing with book recommendations and stuff like that. Like if you just tell me, give you a good book, well, Hamlet's Mill, it's an amazing book, right? But if you tell me, give me a list of 10 books, now I got to exclude books, right? I'm not just giving you a recommendation. I gotta distill it to the 10 best. And it's taking me time. I'll be honest, it's taking me time. I got several books on the list. TV and film recommendations, man, just watch Tombstone every day. I just watch it over and over. It's the greatest movie ever made. I don't know, but I'll accept it. If nominated, I will accept. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Very kind of you. Baron, please look into scientists recruited by Einstein. Their names came out in yesterday's release, not just clients. They may have used Einstein's victims as live research subjects, a.k.a. Dr. Mengele. Did not know that. Frankly terrifying. My top 3 Baron crash outs. CK's tent and wrecked car analogy. Yes. EK and the therapy dogs. Yes. Joe. Everybody gets the Joe crash out. I'm glad that's not number 1, though. It's making its way down the list. Check out the book Lab 257 about bioweapons lab on Long Island, founded in the 50s, that was responsible for Lyme disease, allegedly, among other inventions. We've been doing this forever. Yeah, I'm fully on board with Lyme disease was a bioweapon that got out, purposeful or unpurposeful. I also believe, I think this is coming if it's not already out. I believe they are probably through insects trying to make people allergic to certain food items, high protein food items like beef and chicken eggs. So watch that. I think it's on the rise. And I think it's happening. I don't think it's like 10, 20 years down the road. I think it's happening. People are becoming allergic to things they shouldn't be allergic to. Dairy protein, beef protein, chicken protein, egg protein. It just shouldn't be happening. Hi, Baron. What are your thoughts on the SD card taken specifically from camera behind CK, and why are we not able to see any of the content? Thoughts? I actually have seen some of the content because Terrell Farnsworth shared it with Candace. I will say something's interesting is the state allegedly put out part of I don't say allegedly, it put out part of a what could be the beginnings of an exhibit list. And it looked to me like they didn't have that SD card available to them, or at least they're not choosing to identify it as something they're planning to use in the near future, which shocked me because they are planning to use what appears to be a screen cap from the Candace Owens show. If that's true, that's terrifying. Like if the state is getting evidence, how are they going to authenticate that? You're going to bring Candace in? You want to put Candace on the stand to authenticate the screen cap? How are you going to authenticate that? It also seems like they're taking videos from Twitter, X, of the alleged shooter in the prone position on the roof, and the alleged shooter scampering off the roof that was taken from the Hall of Flags. It seems like they're not authenticating those videos through the people who took it, but they might be just introducing it off of Twitter. I mean, just based on the way I read the exhibits, and that concerns me. You got to pick and choose what we cover on this program, but that concerned me when I saw that. So yeah, I have concerns. That's my thoughts. I have concerns. Crazy. Heard this a while ago and could never make sense until now. I've heard secondhand that investors knew the testing was bull doo-doo, but invested anyway. Well, if that's true, I'm assuming you're talking about Theranos. If that's true, it could be one of a couple things. I don't want to, draw the worst conclusion only. It could be that they thought the testing was on the way or whatever, and that it was just around the corner. So they kept, they just need more money. Or it could be that the entire operation was a sham from the beginning and they never intended the testing to work. Here's what let me just say that. I didn't say this in my opening, but now that you brought this up, I'll say it. I don't think Theranos was ever intended to work. I think it was intended to not work, but to be credible in not working. And I think Holmes was pushing it beyond what the investors and the military industrial complex and government officials who were on her board wanted her to do, which is why she had to go. That's what I think happened. I think they wanted to keep it to disease testing. They didn't care about, and things like blood sugar that you can do with a drop of blood anyway. They didn't care about lipid profile and, testing for all these other random things that are, they wanted it. I think they were looking for something that they could roll out for COVID or whatever they were using for COVID before. I think SARS-CoV-1 was the first stab at COVID in 2003, right after 9/11, right after the Patriot Act rollout, right after the invasion of Afghanistan and Iraq. I think that was supposed to be what we experienced in 2019. It just went away too fast. And then they tried again with MERS. Same platform. It's a respiratory distress virus. It's a coronavirus. They tried it with MERS. Same problem. It went away too fast. The problem with coronaviruses is they mutate very quickly, and they're very, very difficult to catch, frankly, and they don't make you very sick. So they got to enhance them. But it went away so fast. And that was in 2012, 2014, somewhere in there. Then you get Ebola. Like anyone who gets Ebola is infected with a bioweapon. It's a reason that they're testing it in Africa. It's the same place right around the corner from where they tested nevirapine, for example, which is one of the deadliest drugs ever invented. Just destroys the liver. Just destroys anybody who takes it. And they went over to Africa and just slaughtered people in the testing of this drug. And that's why sometimes you'll notice these WHO workers and these medical workers that are working in this area down here, every now and then some local guerrilla group shoots up the workers. So I think that's what they were intending to do. They just wanted somebody that could roll out something quick, cheap, and easy that was in place all over the world, or all over the country at least, all the Walgreens, all the Safeways. Oh, go get your COVID test. Just a finger prick of blood and you'll have an answer right away. I think that's what they were aiming for. And then they were going to use that as the basis to shut us down. That didn't work, so they had to go to PCR. And again, I don't think it intended it to be accurate because the way they used PCR, it wasn't accurate. Man, I'm getting way off base here. And Kerry Mullis, who I knew personally when he was alive, because of my work with HIV. I was aware of Kerry Mullis. I knew Kerry Mullis. I talked to him. He would have been livid if he'd have known during COVID that they were using PCR testing the way they were. He'd have been livid. I mean, just beside himself livid. And it was very convenient that he died the August before COVID kicked up in November. Very convenient. Because then there was nobody to say, you guys are using this technology wrong. And they ran with PCR as the diagnostic tool. It was never meant to be used that way. In fact, I used to try court cases involving HIV where we would show how lousy PCR testing was when they would try to introduce it. Using their own materials, like the lab testing kit that said, don't use this to diagnose HIV. Please don't use this. This is not reliable. Or medical journals that were written by experts that don't use this to diagnose HIV. It's not reliable. I'm getting too far afield here, people. This is the problem when you got all this stuff up here. Sometimes it just comes out. All right. I already read that one. 1:30 Tehran attack aborted. 1:30 Epstein. Oh, Einstein drops. Yeah, I don't know that. I don't know that the attack was aborted. I'm not in the know enough to know that. Good evening, Baron. Truly enjoy viewing your channel. A very formal way to say that, sir. Truly enjoy viewing your comment. Your opening statement is high IQ. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Keep the humor and great content coming. Love your style. Go Max. Christ is King. Nancy from Florida. I think I called you sir, Nancy, and I do apologize. I should have read your screen name first. Fab Mom. Would have answered that question right off the bat. Colonel Towner is a woman. Oh, how sexist of me. Also, I haven't seen Nefarious, but it looks like it's based on Jerry Markensky. After treating prisoners for 30 years, he's convinced they were possessed. Very credible, Doc. Great opening statement, by the way. Thank you. I don't know what it was based on. But I do agree a lot of them are probably possessed. I think a lot of people are possessed that we just identify as either mentally ill. I'm not saying all mentally ill people are possessed, but I think there are possessed people we misidentify as mentally ill. Or just psychopathic politicians, people you work with, drug abusers. I think a lot of them are drug possessed, demon possessed. And we just think it's antiquated and old fashioned, like Jesus was lying when he said people were demon possessed. And we thought the apostles were lying when they went out and cast out demons as like their main work that they were doing. What do you think they were doing? They were setting people free from sin and death. The consequences of sin and death. Possession. Roll that beautiful bean footage. The world is the devil's dominion and playground. Of course, there's going to be ones to join in on the fun. Are we really going to still act shocked that all these low-life, evil, vile things still happen? No. No, we're not going to act shocked. Thank you. Very generous and kind. More people making fun of me because I don't know who Colonel Towner Watkins is. I do apologize. Thank you for the movie rec. Watched Nefarious last night. It was a really good movie. Highly recommend everyone give it a watch. Thank you, Baron, for all your hard work in the CK case. I'm trying my best over here. Best way to support you is to finally become a member. Thank you, Rose Kizzle. I do appreciate that. Yeah, we got a pretty active members group over there. The members chat was pretty lively the other day. Very split opinions on Jason. Jason and I talked about that after the show. He's like, I don't think your chat liked me. I was like, they had their opinionated people. They like me. So they're I'm an opinionated person. Hi, Baron. I'm pleased and proud to announce I'm a brand new subscriber, and this is my first super chat. Thank you, Kathy. Never miss an episode. Your intelligence, wit, passion, and amazing sense of humor. Oh, well. Awfully kind words. I'm humbled. I'm rarely speechless, but here I am. Thank you. My Sib was entrapped in a federal crime. It happens. She had no choice but to go along. Faced 60 years if convicted. Took plea for 3.5. People don't understand our justice system. Yes. Wonder if Carla's still alive. I don't know. Oh, the girl from the Mexican email. Yeah, that's sad. I don't know. On another note, wow, almost 200,000 subs. Yeah, where are we? I can look it up. I know it was like 197 today. Not that I was counting. We are at, where are we? Why can't I tell? Oh, I gotta go to my dashboard. We are at 198,308. If you're not a subscriber, now's the chance. You can help push us over 200. 198,308. We'll see where I am at the end of the show. See if this plea worked. Like, subscribe, notify, share, love, hug. Pass gas silently away from other people. We already know someone can pretend to be in prison. Einstein did this very thing. Tyler's getting money for pretending to be in prison. This is not rocket science. No, I think he's in prison. Or not. He's not in prison. He's in jail. A different place. I'm confused with who was around CK case that you could make an episode introducing them all. Thanks for the great content and greetings from Finland. Yes, you've reached the Nordics. Well, apparently we're huge in the Nordics. We had an Icelandic person, now a Finnish person. Yes. I got new t-shirts. Guys, I just say stuff. Did I say that? I'm going to have to look that line up. I don't remember saying that. I believe you. I believe you. I was disappointed with the Jason Goodman interview. He is a malcontent, lots of bashing others, but little to tell us about Vegas. This is a class outfit as well as high IQ outfit. Hugs. Yeah, I was hoping to get a little more detail from Vegas. But you take him as you get him. I'm thankful he joined us. Like I said, I got the two main things I wanted to get out is how do you identify these people who are bad actors who are coming to you with misinformation, trying to derail your investigation? And what was the problem with Blake? Like, tell me what caused it. And I got both. So I'm happy. Hey, Heather. Hey, brother. Been out from ice storm down in North Mississippi. We got hit hard. Work tomorrow, but I'm going to play catch up. Haven't had power since last Sunday. Love the show. Keep up the good info. Man, last Sunday was a long time ago. You know, there are people in Nashville that still don't have power. I feel bad for them. I'm not going to let them in my house, but I feel bad for them. No offense, people. I don't know you. I guess that's... Well, I got kids. I can't let strangers in my house. Maybe if I lived alone. Never really been into any of this corruption. My ignorance was bliss, but Candace went independent in 2024, and here we are. This is truly a time of good versus evil, Baron. God bless. Christ is King. I think you've made a point here few two people understand. Had Candace not gone independent, had she not been fired, I'll say it the polite way, I can't imagine the stories we would have missed. We might not know Brigitte has a little Macron. And I'm pretty convinced there's a little Macron down there. Or at least there was. We might not know that. We might not know. We might not know much about Charlie Kirk at all. Like, I don't think Daily Liar would have let her get all this information out. And she's really driven the information. I mean, really driven it. So good call. Good call. I'm going way too slow tonight. Guys, I'll never get through all these. Is this Richard Marcinko referenced in the first email, the first commander of SEAL Team 6 and creator of Red Cell? That Richard Marcinko? I think so, unfortunately. But again, I don't know if any of that happened. I'm just reading the email. Glenn Beck hated Trump, and two of his kids flew from Texas to Utah just to see Charlie's assassination. Never trusted him since he covered his face in Cheetos after Trump won. I forgot he did that. I forgot he did that. Yeah, he... So here's what I think happened to Glenn Beck. I think Glenn Beck was threatened years ago. He was going to do a show one day where he was going to break, I think it was like a Friday. He was going to break some news story that was going to change the country forever. I don't know if you remember this. And then he showed up the next day and just did a normal show and didn't mention it. And he's never been the same since. It wouldn't surprise me if he didn't get a visit and said, oh, you're going to do a show like that? Let me tell you what's going to happen. In fact, let me tell you what's going to happen if you ever cross us again on anything, ever. You either say what we say or this is what's going to happen. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, didn't his brakes go out in his SUV not long after that? Let me see this. I might be thinking of someone else. Glenn Beck brakes go out. Was that happened? Yeah. Reports of an incident where Glenn Beck's car brakes failed. I think that happened. I could be wrong. Either way, I mean, I think a lot of these people get that visit, and he's never been the same. Never been the same. Love the show. Do you believe we are in the end times, last days? I'm going to disappoint you guys if I say no, aren't I? Oh, gosh. I got to think about it. I got to think. No. No, I don't. I guess I would have to ask you the question, lover of the light. Why do you think we're in the end times in the last days? What's so unique about now? I mean, the only thing that might make me think it is we're coming up on the 2,000-year anniversary of the death of our Lord and Savior. You know what I mean? That's like the only thing that might make me think it. So maybe there's, God has a thing with round numbers. But in terms of things are bad out there. Yeah, things have been bad out there. Like Christianity was founded by people getting thrown to lions. No one's getting thrown to lions. I mean, not like all of us. Of the original 12 apostles, 11 of them were martyred. Like Joel Osteen hadn't been martyred. Like, there are still some people getting martyred, but not 11 out of 12. As far as like things are bad out there, guys, like we've lived through reductions of the human population by 20 or 30% since Christ died. The year 5, was it 67 or 37, something like that, or 30 or 40% of the world was proposed to have died. The plague in the Middle Ages, wars, famine, global catastrophe. I mean, there's just so, I mean, maybe, but not because of anything I see. Just because he's got to come back at some point. Maybe we're in the last days, but I don't know why we're any more last daysy than we were in 1800. And if you tell me it's because some country's been founded in the Middle East, wrong. That has nothing to do with it. That has nothing to do with it. That is irrelevant to the last days because that country's not what they were talking about. Sorry. I just hate to be the one to break it to people. Like, it's so tired of having that discussion with people. There were like 14 names that were proposed for that country. The one that was used barely won. It was like a close vote. And if they chosen a different name, you'd have to be scrambling around the Bible to find out, some other way to make it stick. Sorry. I'm not buying that. It's about good versus evil, Baron. I'm sober 4 years and graduate in May and go on to grad school. Love your authenticity. Some good ones are left. Congratulations on being sober first. Congratulations on getting ready to graduate second. And yeah, there's some good ones left. There's a lot of good ones left. My favorite podcaster did talk about the Einstein files because you are my favorite podcaster. Love the show. Your opening statement kicks bottoms. Truth to the max. Thank you, contentious podcast OJI. That's very kind of you. Question: is Trump not running to confront Einstein file list because it is those behind Einstein, etc., the highest up deep state, who are being targeted, as well as the election frauds of 2020 and many other countries? I sort of am a little opposite other people on this Einstein drop. And I know that there are some emails in this Einstein drop that make Trump look pretty terrible. But there's an overwhelming arc of a story in this drop that makes other people look really bad. People have been trying to pressure Trump into taking certain foreign policy stances in Iran, for example. It makes them look horrible. And I wonder if he didn't say, give them half of it. See if they won't back down. Like, I'm 80. What are they going to do to me? So I look bad. Who cares? I'm the president. I'll get over it. I'll take everything they got. Send them a warning shot. I'm kind of 50-50 on that, guys. I'm kind of 50-50 on that because they look terrible. The way they talk about Christians in that thing and everyone except certain religions, they look terrible. I mean, terrible. And I kind of wonder if he wasn't sick of it. Like, have a dose of this. Get back to me. Yes. All right, I'm going to have to, I've got to move a little quicker. We only got 35-ish minutes left, and I'm not even halfway done. I do apologize. Do you think Charlie saw those files and planned on exposing people or something close to that scenario? He was becoming close to MTG in the end. No, I don't think so. I don't subscribe to that. Regarding the Ken T email, OGA and the emails are CIA. When they operate domestically, they're referred to as other government agency. Probably redacted under B3, CIA Act. If so, we see OGA, probably correlates with CIA. My opinion, of course. Well, cash money, that's awfully detailed information. I would take a picture of it, but I know you'll explain that to me. I know who you are. Thank you. That is excellent information. I think, can't DOD be considered OGA and like HHS be considered OGA outside of the country? I don't know. I could be wrong. No, Bill Frist and his wife Tracy personally very crazy. You mentioned him. He has an interesting history. He's rich. I know that. He's a billionaire. Baron. Whew. Boy, you picked the topic that brought out all the bots and trolls. This lets us know this episode is extremely important. Gonna be honest, though, it's fun being a mod when bad actors are getting the boot. I did not know it was that crazy. Baron, how much credence do you lend to the more graphic emails? Like the one of a former president on a yacht? Or those types of stories thrown in to make us doubt? How do you know what to believe? I don't know what to believe. I just operate under the assumption that some of them are true. And I don't know what percentage. But anyone who's mentioned doing that kind of stuff, and I know which email you're talking about, we got to figure out why. We got to figure out why. I'm not reading the one about the ED pills. Passing on that super. Thank you for your donation, but I'm going to pass on that one. Yes, I said Epstein. Einstein. Yeah, Epstein. Einstein. Yes, that happened. As humans, we all need a voice to speak publicly for us, and you, Sir Baron, do an exemplary job. Well, thank you. That's a very kind compliment. Great opening statement, Baron. May replace your top mid guy with Thomas More, and I'd recommend a portrait of courage. I'm not gonna. These are Americans. Thomas More was not American. I like Sir Thomas More, and if you must know, my confirmation saint was Saint Thomas More. So funny you mentioned him. The patron saint of lawyers, of all things. Is it possible that DOJ doesn't have the files and these are being released by other actors as leverage? Hence why every lying butt on TV is looking like a hostage? No, I don't think it's possible. I think every lying butt on TV looks like a hostage because they're terrified of the rest of them coming out. And they've been telling us there's nothing to this. Like at the top levels of government, they've been, you still talking about the Jeffrey Epstein? Yeah, we are. Yeah, we're still talking about him. I'm telling you, I've looked through these files. There's nothing to it. I'm Dan Bongino. Yeah, I look forward to your podcast tomorrow. You better make it all about these because you had an opportunity to do something about it, and sir did not. Did not. I haven't seen a single arrest. I haven't seen a single arrest. I used to watch Bongino daily. Loved him. Tomorrow's his first day back. Not excited at all when he said he removed himself. I knew he was gone, sticking with Baron, Candace, and Coach. Coach has a great morning show if you're not watching it. 9 a.m. Central Time. It's great. I found the book. He's doing it live. It's fantastic. I found the book Hidden Rulers Exposed. Hidden Rulers Exposed by Daniel Seiler. Looked very insightful. Any opinions? So grateful to be part of the grand jury. Thank you for all the truth you bring to us. Love your show. I've never heard of the book Hidden Rulers Exposed. Love the show. Nefarious is based on these screw tape letters. It's in the synopsis and trivia on IMDb. And Christians were first named at Antioch, by the way. I was aware of that. Did I say they weren't? Grumblers? Did I say they weren't? You showed great patience with JG in members only interview. I think the interview of JG and Cullen was scripted. Just my humble opinion. Oh, you think that whole encounter in the street was fake? That's an interesting take. That's a hot take, Jack. I'll have to go back and watch it with those eyes. I'll tell you what, I'd never heard John Cullen sound like that. He sounded way unhinged. Almost didn't believe it was him at first. And then he said, I heard his accent a couple times. Like, I think that's him. But first, like 10 seconds, 20 seconds, I was like, that's not him. EK received $10 million from life insurance, $5.5 million crown fund, $2 million sold house, $10 million going back. Do we know how much the life insurance was? I've seen estimates, but have we gotten a solid answer to that? Where did I get this ball wine glass? I can't tell you that. I have to kill you. I can't tell you. It was a gift. I already told you that. One of our audience members knows where I got it, but I don't know if that audience member wants to be outed. Baron, what is your honest opinion? Trump and his admin's involvement with the Einstein files? They all look really dirty to me. I just gave you my thought. Like, I'm leaning that way. That I think Trump might have said, I know this makes me look bad, but just drop half of them. Let's just I'm so tired of being pressured to bomb Iran. Let's just drop half of them, shut them up, let them know the rest of them are coming if they don't stop. That's what I think. I could be wrong. Maybe I should pull up ADSB right now. Maybe they're getting ready to go after them. Maybe I'm wrong about this. Maybe I don't know how to read Trump. You know, the beauty of Trump is you don't know how to read Trump. Because if you knew how to read Trump, then he couldn't do his stuff, right? I see no evidence of a pending assault on Iran right now. On ADSB exchange, I see some active military weapons, Russian military planes that's interesting, in the Mediterranean, and a C-17 Globemaster on the way. But that's a pretty common route they fly. So that's my answer. Einstein PDF files brought out a different type of anger to do that to children, babies. They're demonic. Agreed. I think if you'll do that to kids, you're demonic. You'll get no argument from me there. They're demonic. Once you're live on Demons walking around today, as EK said, she'll see CK in heaven. I don't know what she said about that. What, you want my live? Yeah, I'm going to do a live on Demons. I am. What's the possibility Tyler Robinson was adopted or a Romanian angel? Defense team seems subpar and seemingly no alarm from family, friends, or community. Bizarre, like no one cares. I don't think that's the case. I don't think that's the case. When you like JP Sears till you went to buy his merch and found out it was made in China. Oh gosh, where are Adidas hoodies made? I think they're Bangladesh or something. Here's the problem with American made merch. I'm in favor of it. It's so hard to find. No one makes stuff anymore. you know, when they do, it's expensive. So I mean, you want to pay $120 for a hoodie? I mean, that's just the reality of that. I bought the last hoodie I bought that was made in America was over $100. It was like $125. And that's just, you can only buy so many of those. I'm not rich. Baron, excellent episode. I hope someone with more talent. Now, I will say this about Made in America. I will scour the office supply store for highlighters made in America, and I'll buy some weird brand I've never heard of versus whatever, because those are made in China. These are made in America. And if they're like an extra $5, I'll pay it. My truck was made in Kansas City, Kansas City, Missouri, I think. Maybe Kansas. I favor American made stuff when I can. So maybe that's where he is. I don't know. Excellent episode. I hope someone with more talent than me makes a cartoon of you cupping your ear and saying, I'm waiting. I'll listen. Come on the pod. Love the show. You rock. Yes, I am waiting. Emailed a picture of my puppy watching you. Does your puppy know what I'm doing? Watch this. So when I was on the radio, I had this commercial that would come on and played a doorbell. I had to play it. Like, I had to hit the button. Man, I got so much heat for that. Everybody got so mad. Every time you play that commercial, my dog's bark. Yeah, that's probably why they did that, so that you would listen to the commercial. Day 2 of my sobriety journey. I'm very excited to live a life without alcohol. Slightly lighter. I don't know how much you were drinking. The next few days could be interesting. Stay with us, okay? One meal at a time. You don't have to get through the whole day. You just have to get to breakfast. Then you got to get to lunch. Then you got to get to dinner. And then you got to get to bed. Sleep as much as you need to. Take it easy. Kick your feet up. Don't be stressed. Take some days off work if you can. But hang in there. Hang in there. We're excited to have you in a life without alcohol. You'll feel better. Your life will be fundamentally better. I wonder if there's a satanic belief that if they sacrificed as a patsy, they level up, much like extreme Muslim self-unaliving exploders do. Just a thought. Yeah, that's a great thought. I've never even considered that. I always just thought they had them on child charges. I never even considered that. Like, you can go to prison for the child stuff, or you could just go to prison for somebody else. Your call. Baron, you truly have one of the best mod teams on the net. Thank you, Ivan. Shout out to the mods. Best mod team on the net, he said. I haven't heard it called the net in a while, so this is obviously someone my age or older. Their commitment, patience, and care for the jury do not go unnoticed. Please buy them a coffee, an ice cream, or maybe a stemware. They've more than earned it. Go Max, Christ is King. I've already committed. I'm going to buy them a I'm not going to tell you what I'm going to buy them, but I am going to buy them some merch when we get the merch up and running so that they can have their own merch. So I've already committed to taking care of the mods. I do think they're great because I don't get very many complaints. And then I always go back and look. They don't ban that many people. Like, they're able to keep it under control without pulling the axe on people, which is rare. I mean, that's a rare blend to walk that balance. They're not going to defend Tyler, in my humble opinion. Yeah, I'm starting to wonder. I didn't used to think that. But, I mean, why would you want the cameras out? Defense was handpicked to lose the case, programmed to kill, spells out how they railroad a trial. The whole TR trial looks like a carbon copy of what's outlined in the book. Have to check that out. That's an interesting theory. You said there were multiple contingencies to ensure CK did not leave UVU alive. No leaving anything to chance. What then are the implications for the failed attempt on DJT and PA? Were they okay with either outcome? Had no backup plans? Love your work, Christ is King. First, thank you. Very generous donation. Incredibly generous. So thank you. Second is, I've really contemplated doing a show on Butler, but I've not because of where my conclusion led when I studied Butler. And it scared me much more than the Charlie Kirk assassination. Just like the Bitcoin show I was going to do. You notice I pulled the... I'm going to do it, but I got to figure out how to do it and stay breathing. I would have to figure out how I wanted to cover the Butler thing. I think there's a lot more to that than we know. I'm not talking necessarily about foreign government involvement, although I think there's a component to that. I think it's dark. I've run it by a few people, and nobody was like, "That's crazy. What are you talking about?" I've really got to think about that. So that's the implications for the failed attempt. It's in other words, I don't know. Well, let me think about that. Thank you for your donation. My research is right. We have enough to warrant a legitimate investigation of both TPUSA and the DOJ for the cover-up. Yes, agreed. The DOJ broke multiple protocols with the lawyer, though. I think it's time to call me. I don't like talking on the phone. I'll be honest with you. That's not my favorite pastime. In fact, someone called the other day during the show, and as I was going, I was like, "Hey, I'm going to the air in 1 minute," and I hung up. And you guys heard that because I had the wrong mic on. And a buddy of mine, a very good friend of mine for decades, called me, texted me. Did not call. Smarter than that. Texted me. He said, "I don't think your audience understood the implication of you answering that phone call, even if it was just to say that you were busy." I don't answer a lot of phone calls. I don't talk on the phone much if I can avoid it. Yeah. We'll communicate. We'll communicate. I think the entire trial was also planned. The defense has a slam dunk case. IMO. Why are they not doing any investigating? Why was Terrell's cousin on the defense team? We're being played from both sides. Starting to wonder. I'm starting to wonder. I didn't wonder before. Now I'm starting to wonder. I got to be very cautious as a lawyer what I say about other lawyers. The bar frowns on that, but I think I can say I'm starting to wonder. By the way, loved Billy, Brandy Billy, and your matching hoodies. Yes. Actually, I'm wearing the Vatican City blue hoodie that Billy was wearing. Jason, bit of a different story. You oozed professionalism. Christ is King. I'm a professional. I know how to interview somebody who's got an axe to grind, a little vendetta. I know how. So thank you for your high praise. Yes, Cutler has what appears to be a rangefinder. He's taking readings and checking them on the unit prior to event. He also dropped something from the arm hand after the bang. I'll have to check on that. I don't know, Edge, that I've seen the rangefinder. But thank you. You'll know what I'm thanking you for. Thank you. Baron, Erica did say she never watched the video and never planned to. Also, what happened to the grassy knoll, if not the dump? Maybe the compost pile, if you get me. I know that Life is Driving was talking about the grassy knoll on his impromptu interview with me. I don't know if you've seen. That's an old show. That's back in October, I think. If you haven't seen that, that was nuts. I don't know what you're talking about, so I don't get you. I don't think. I think you're saying compost pile is a doo-doo pile. A doo-doo pile. New member, I wrote last week, I did premium to download a video when power was out and wondered if you noticed. Haha, sign up online for $10, not Apple. Yeah, that's a way to get around the $3 Apple fee for sure. I can't help that Apple fee. That's them, not me. My understanding is it's not a monthly recurring fee, but I could be wrong about that. Thanks for joining. EK's Evil Eyes reminds me of Kenneth Copeland's Evil Eyes. I've heard that a lot. Heard that a whole lot. Eyes are the windows to the soul, but with those two, I don't see souls in them. I see evil. Well, they have a soul. Even people co-opted by demons have souls. They're just occupied. Love to you and your family. Thanks for all you do. Well, thank you, Jessica. Appreciate that. Baron, you absolutely must watch Danks and Constitution Project from earlier today. I think will give you more insight into the framing of Robinson. I will if you'll spell my name right. My company is called 1R. Shelbell, would you be willing to file an amicus brief favoring an open hearing? Love your show. I will not. No, I'm not getting it. I don't want to get involved. Then I can't. Well, I mean, the media is already covered. They've got their own brief. If you pull up the case online, the media is well represented. They're filing a lot of stuff. So I'm going to piggyback on them. Moving a little quicker now as I get towards the end here, guys. Stuff in the files is satanic. Yes, I'm done paying taxes. I don't recommend that. That is not my legal advice. My legal advice is to pay your taxes. We are ruled by sick, satanic people, including Trump. This is our government, and it's never been more obvious that they work against us, abuse us, and make us pay for it. Surrender unto Caesar what is Caesar's, madam or sir. Don't go to prison. It's not for you. I don't know you, but I guarantee it's not for you. Your insight, raw, real, refreshing, and relevant. Thank you for all you're doing. Thank you. Just a fan watching to send my love and support. I'm just a host, loving and supporting you as well. First super chat. Do you have any info theories as to why Charlie's parents haven't made any appearances? Watching all the way from Uruguay. Apparently, we're big in southern part of South America as well. I don't have an operating theory. I've asked people who know them, and I'm just told they're private people. I don't know the answer to that. I mean, I know a little bit about the folks. Like, I know what the mom did for a living. I know where she used to work. I know what the dad did for a living. I know where he worked. I know about the sister, what she does, her politics. Like, I know a little bit about the family, and I've talked to some people up there who know them. But all I hear is that they're quiet people. I was so supportive of Erica just after Charlie's death. Turns out she's completely dishonest. Those 5 letters, TPUSA, make me cringe. Boy, it's hard to type a message on here. It is hard to type a super, and I don't understand. I don't understand that. Hi, my thoughts are the defense is going to throw the trial. They don't want that on display. Remember your Google searches. The defense and the judge were searched early on. Love your show. Yes, I do remember. I do. I may need to revisit that. I do. I remember. You remember Anthony Weiner's laptop? And they said if the contents of the laptop were ever disclosed, it would bring down the whole global structure. Now's the time. I'd like to see it. 9 of 12 NYPD detectives are no longer with us, allegedly. Wife Huma was aide for Hillary Clinton for 25 years. Yeah. I mean, I don't know what else to say. Humble request for you to clip your opening statement from each show, make a playlist of them. I just love so much and enjoy going back to listen to them again. I do mark them in chapters. I don't know if you've noticed that. Now, if you're on Spotify or Rumble, I don't. Sorry, guys. But if you're on the tube of you, I do mark those in chapters. So you can always find it. And going back and clipping them all out. Other people are free to make clips and playlists. I don't stop people from clipping. I don't know. Always look for your podcast. Thank you. I always do my podcast. When you take a dog to UVU, their frugality may be the key. They reuse the sod to patch spots on campus. I did not know that. I've been waiting to make sure you are aware. P.S. You are blessing the world. If you know where those plots are, let me know. Happy to run a dog by them if you can tell me where they are. Paul Valelli, TP's board member, specialized in psyops with Equino. I don't think he's a board member. I think he's an advisory member. And like he's on their advisory council or something. CK tells Frank T, Andrew, and security he was going to be killed. Didn't tell Erica, and that's important. Why? You think he thinks Erica was in on it? I mean, that's kind of the presumption there, right? All right. This is a good question. I've asked myself this 100 times. I want to bring this up. If CK was part of the TPUSA corruption, could you forgive him? No. Which is why I hesitate to ascribe any kind of blame to him. Because I couldn't. I can't help but think CK was intelligent and definitely would have researched Erica before marrying her. He would have done background checks. I don't know, man. I don't know the answer to that. Ben Shapiro's not a good choice for TPUSA. Too anti-Semitic. Yeah, I agree. He's not a good choice. I totally agree. He's not a good choice. How realistic is a change in the defense team at this point? Very unrealistic. Also, I mean, he could do it, but it would be hard for him. Also, does it still hold true that the lead defense attorney has to be licensed in Utah for a case where the death penalty is on the table? Yeah, they'd have to be certified a death penalty lawyer in Utah. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for letting us in on that secret. Now here's mine. The night of her first speech, I immediately had secondhand embarrassment. It was so awkward, and the whispering under her breath forced me to turn it off. Now that is a secret. You canceled her. You canceled her. Baron, how do they handle the bullet evidence if that isn't how CK was neutralized? Maybe a low IQ question, but this weighs on me. Well, if they have a bullet, that'll answer the question. But keep in mind, they had a bullet for John F. Kennedy too. John F. Kennedy also, but there was question of where that bullet came from. People, just showed up on the stretcher. And I think people were a little weirded out about that. Baron, where do you get all these colors for Adidas hoodies? I go online, see 5 boring colors, asking for a friend, Crisis King Go Max. If you go to Amazon and you search Adidas Essentials hoodies, you'll see the one with the Adidas logo in the upper left-hand breast. Adidas Essentials hoodies. You'll go online. There's a lot of color options. Now, since I gave away my honey hole and told you guys where that was, the options are getting limited. But they do put new colors up from time to time. I've got all but like 1 or 2 of them. And it's just because I don't love wearing brown. And one of the ones I don't have is like a brown hoodie. But I did order another blue one that has not come in yet. And I don't know where it is. I need to check on Amazon. Do you think TPUSA will eventually fall? Fall or fail? Fall or fail, either way. All the lies are being exposed. How could they possibly go on forever? I do. I don't think that woman can lead an organization successfully. I think people are weirded out by her. We wanted Jason to leave to do super chats. I know. He asked to stay. What am I going to tell him? No. All the things he was saying he didn't like about Blake, he was doing that to the other guy. He was not willing to admit he was wrong, even when you push back. Yeah, I mean, some people are that way. Some people are confident. What was the deal with the mics that Trigger had on his show? He seemed to be saying the exploding mic wasn't possible, but I didn't quite understand. I haven't seen that one. I need to go check it. I need to go check that one. I'm not sure. Christ is the only way. Catholicism is counterfeit. Look into it. Believing in his blood is all it takes to be saved, folks. Again, I'm not going to argue with you. I mean, if that's your position, that's fine. I might read from James, right? Let me ask you a question. Have you read Matthew 25? Have you read Matthew 25? Because in Matthew 25, Jesus talks about who's going to heaven. I might read from it now because I don't know if you're the same person, if you're someone else. But I can read from it. The goats and the, oh gosh, I might need my readers. Sorry, guys. Letting you in on the fact that I'm old. Matthew 25. Here we go. You ready? When the Son of Man comes in his glory and all the angels with him, he will sit upon his glorious throne, and all the nations will be assembled before him. And he will separate them one from another as a shepherd separates the sheep from the goats. He will place the sheep on his right and the goats on his left. Then the king will say to those on his right, come on. Come, you who are blessed by my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For I was hungry, you gave me food. I was thirsty, and you gave me drink. A stranger, and you welcomed me. Naked, and you clothed me. Ill, and you cared for me. In prison, and you visited me. Then the righteous will answer him and say, Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you drink? When did we see you a stranger and welcome you, or naked and clothe you? When did we see you ill or in prison and visit you? And the king will say to them in reply, Amen, I say to you, whatever you did, verb, do, did, for the least of these brothers of mine, you did for me. Then he will say to those on his left, the goats, depart from me, you accursed, into the eternal fire prepared for the devil and his angels. For I was hungry, and you gave me no food. I was thirsty, and you gave me no drink. A stranger, you gave me no welcome. Naked, you gave me no clothing. Ill and in prison, you did not care for me. Then they will answer and say, Lord, when did we see you hungry or thirsty or a stranger or naked or ill or in prison and not minister to your needs? He will answer them, Amen, I say to you, what you did not do for one of the least of these, you did not do for me. And these will go off to eternal punishment, but the righteous to eternal life. So what is the basis of the righteousness? What they did. What they did. Did they feed the poor? Did they clothe the naked? Don't argue with me. Argue with Christ. Argue with Jesus Christ if you want to, but don't argue with me. I take him at his word. Like when the J-man says something, yes, Lord. Oh, you want me to feed people? Done. You want me to clothe the neck? Done. Done. I take Jesus at his word. I'm sorry. Sorry we disagree on that. And you practice your faith the way you practice it. I will not tell you not to. I'm going to practice it the way that I think Jesus is telling me to practice it. Please don't tell me not to. And in the end, the Lord will decide who are the sheep and who are the goats. Because he promised he would. He even gave us guidelines on how he would make that determination. And so I will practice it the way I think he's telling me to practice it. Knifey, you practice it the way you think he's telling you to practice it. But there's no reason to come on here and bash other people's religions. It's not necessary. I don't do that to you. You will never catch me on a podcast dogging the host's faith. You just never catch me doing it. Never. Thanks for your donation. I'm sorry you paid $20 to be proven wrong. Are we supposed to be super censored in our wording? I almost got charged $400 for 2 sentences. Granted, controversial names and the wording for 2 sentences. I didn't charge you $400. I don't even know what that means. YouTube, I don't add any additional prescriptions that YouTube doesn't. So if they're telling you can't say certain words in a chat, then that's them, not me. I'm not the one doing it. Let's see here. Wow, the opening statement. Have you seen CK video talking about getting married after 30? EK says, I found my human. Seems like something a demon might say, just saying Charlie Kirk looks pretty unhappy. You know, one video that I want to play now that you've said that is, the video of her not knowing their wedding date or their kids' birthdays, that was weird. And Charlie looked supremely annoyed by it. Supremely annoyed by it. Like, are you kidding me? You don't know what year we got married? Are you nuts? Like, sometimes I forget how many years it's been since I've been married. Like, right now, 24 and a half years. But I don't forget the year or the day. Come on. Especially like year 4. You don't forget that. Sorry. You just don't. And he looked rightfully annoyed by it. Yeah, and the whole I found my human, I know what people are doing. That was I honestly believe, and maybe I'm wrong about this, I think that was a response to I found my human, I found my person. I think that was a response to the gender ideology push of the last few years where they brainwashed young people into not saying that they found their man or their woman because whatever. And so all of a sudden everybody started talking about I found my human, I found my person, you're my person. I'm like, no, you're my man, you're my wife, you're my husband, you're my woman. Like, we don't need any more confusion in the world. Be precise with your language. Be very precise. Huge difference between pray to and pray for. Let's not be disingenuous. Oh my gosh, are you back for more? Also, the father was a miss, but clearly, look, I'll argue with you all day if you keep paying me. And you know it's blasphemous for to refer to a priest as father. Love you, brother. I love you too. I genuinely do. And I'm not arguing with you. This is not my style of podcasting is to talk, the finer points of Catholicism and Protestantism. But I will say this. We don't pray to saints. Sometimes we use that colloquially, just like I don't pray to my wife when I ask her to pray for me. In fact, the Hail Mary says, pray for us sinners now and at the hour of our death. That's what it's saying. Pray for us. We'll say, Saint Michael the Archangel, defend us in battle. Be our protection against the wickedness and snares of the devil. May God rebuke him, we humbly pray. And do thou, O Prince of the heavenly hosts, by the power of God, cast into hell Satan and all the evil spirits who prowl throughout the world, seeking the ruin of souls. Not praying to him. He's an angel, so it's different. But we're asking, pray for us. Ora pro nobis, pray for us. That's the Latin word that you say when you're asking for prayers from somebody. Ora pro nobis, pray for us. So it's not, we don't pray to, we pray, we ask, will you please pray for me? Hey, you're more alive than I am. You're right next to Christ in heaven. Can you please pray for me? And if the answer is no, then what have I lost by asking? Nothing. I've lost nothing by asking. Just like if I go to my friend at the gym and I say, hey, got a big job thing coming up. I got to make a huge decision. Will you pray for me? And that person's like, yeah, sure. And then walks off and doesn't. I've lost nothing. I've lost nothing by asking. Nothing. Father was not amiss. Paul said he's become our father in the faith. That's not amiss. That's not amiss. And if Paul can be our father in the faith, why could a man not be our father in the faith? That's just nonsense. I love you too. I genuinely do. And I don't care what you do. Like, it doesn't bother me that you're not Catholic. Like, I think that's the best option going. That's why I go there. If I became convinced something else was better, I would go there. But if you don't think it, it'd be foolish for you to go to a Catholic church if you didn't think it was the best option out there. Go where you feel like you fit. Go where you feel like you fit. Hi, Baird. Even if they get Tyler convicted, will TPUSA survive? I don't think so. I think TPUSA is going to struggle. They might have a year or two where they do well, and then I think the wheels will come off. Great day to be a Catholic. Christ is King. Tomorrow's a great day. Candlemas is coming up. Love your work, Baron. I presume you were talking about Colonel Towner Watkins. She is a retired, I now know that, who's an SME on exposing Operation Gladio. Good follow on X. She follows me as well. Now I'm learning. I didn't know. Just looked on Amazon. Can't find that glass. Well, maybe you need to look in classier places. I don't know where to get it. It was a gift. And I'm thankful I have one. I actually have two. I got matching ones. Oh man, I'm way over 3 hours. Check on my grumblers. I visualize an 80s school detention room with graffiti slightly messy and mint green tile on the floor. High IQ, we elucidate around here. Like it. Okay, I got a grumbler here. Checking on you, Grumps. I love how you love Jesus and point us to him. Love your show. Thank you. Well, thank you for telling me to check on the grumblers. I didn't realize we had such an important message over there. Thank you, grumblers. Thank you, Coco2412. You know I love you, grumblers. You know I'm a big grumbler fan. Have I missed any of your other grumbler stuff? Oh, Erica used to post Epstein didn't kill himself all the time on Instagram. Maybe she doesn't remember because her mission started before her job interview. EDKH is the new TRDSCK. Tyler Robinson didn't shoot TK. I like that. I'm checking on you, grumblers. I'm checking on you. Saw pictures of Dan Flood's left arm on X. You can clearly see black ABS plastic has hit the face of his watch. 3 red hot pieces. Have you shown or mentioned this? I've not, because I thought it looked like dirt. So I will double check Project Constitution. I think I'm caught up on you grumblers over here. I think I'm caught up. Let me check. I might be missing a grumbler or two. Ostrich eggs only. We're huge on the eggs like Baron in the Balkans. You think I could eat ostrich eggs? I don't hate grumbler eggs. Love the grumblers. All right, I think I'm caught up on the grumblers. I look this way at the camera and the grumblers are over here. I said I don't believe Cutler had a palm pistol, but tonight you questioned what was in his hand. What do you think it was? I don't know. I don't think it was a palm pistol, but I don't know what it was. The whole Einstein file thing hits hard, knowing that this side of eternity, these people will continue down this evil path, and innocent children, if they survive, must learn to become survivors and not victims. Yeah. Sad. Best opening yet? Wow. Truly compelling Einstein coverage. TR Defense is terrified of high IQ scrutiny. That's the problem. That's absolutely the problem. Repeating anti-Catholic lies is so low IQ. Ask why we believe what we believe. You don't understand. Jesus love you. Yeah, I've got a Carl Keating book I wish that guy would read, but I'm not going to recommend it because I don't think he will. It's called Catholicism and Fundamentalism. It's really good. There's also a book, Why Do Catholics Believe What They Believe? I think that's what it's called. Why do Catholics believe what they believe? Let me see. I think that's what it's called. It's something like that. And it's good too. Kind of points out the broad brushstrokes. Never miss an episode, even when I'm late. Mindy, why are you late? Thanks for your effort to this cause. Have a great night, Baron. I will have a great night, Mindy, and you're welcome to join anytime. I'm just messing with you. Baron, Baptist convert to Catholicism from high school. One of the biggest draws was faith without works is dead. Maybe I'm overshooting, but I would rather that than undershooting. Catholicism is closest to church Christ left for us. Yeah, again, I'm not in the podcasting business to argue with people about where they should go to church. Like I will, if asked, I will zealously explain my Catholic faith. I'm very proud of it. But if somebody chooses to go a different direction, I hope to see you in heaven, brother. I hope we get a big hug and laugh about the good times. The Parallax View with Warren Beatty. Interesting movie. Love the mason jar with highfalutin handle. Yes, except you'll notice it's empty, which means I'm going to have to go soon. Always felt the Carrie Mullis death was too coincidental. Yeah, me too. Me too. Let me see here. First super chat. Love your show. I'm a Lyme warrior here. Horrible disease. I hate that you have that. I can't remember if they found like a cure or how that works. And Charlie was only home every once in a while, so EK could possibly fake it. Well, I don't want to talk about her faking it. That's weird. I'm not getting into that side of their relationship. Did you see the email Jeff Izzle sent that said, I love to blank video? Then the person replies, I'll be back from China on May 2. At that time, the email was sent. PM of Israel was in China. Actually, the Chinese guy was in Israel. So you have that backwards. I did check on that, but you have the travel backwards. So I don't know that was him. I don't know that it wasn't, but the Chinese thing is not the evidence. Speaking of Trigger Smart, he just did a very, very kind show on Erica. It made me feel icky. Is something wrong with me? I haven't seen that either. I did see he did a 10-minute video on volcanoes. I was captivated. I love that stuff. Love that stuff. Totally out of left field too. And I was like, I'm in. It was great. Ephesians 2:8-9, KJV, for by the grace are ye saved through faith, and that not of yourself, but is the gift of God, not of works, lest any man should boast. I agree. We are saved. But for God's grace, we don't have a chance. There's nothing you can do to earn salvation. And so I agree with that. I totally agree with that. But I'm not going to pull one random verse out that goes against so much other stuff. What I would say is, I'm anticipating that if I was to ask Paul what he meant when he said that, he would say something like, well, of course, your faith saves you, and then you will do great works. So, in other words, it requires more than that to stay in that state of grace. Like in the instant of salvation, yes, but now you've got to go do something with it. So maybe that's the disconnect, that I don't view salvation as a one-time event that's forever unchanging. I believe that if you are saved and then you go, live like a turd, probably not going to work out for you well in the end. But again, I'm not going to tell you how to practice Christianity. I'll just explain how I do it if asked. Baron, I was raised Presbyterian Christian. My mom was Catholic growing up, but I never learned anything about it. I'm sure I'm not the only Christian. Very grateful to hear you answer this with truth word. That's the thing. I'll be happy to explain. And I'm much nicer, frankly. I'm not nearly as sarcastic if people just come and say, why do you guys believe that you have to do stuff? Here's why. What is it about the Mary thing? What are you praying? Why are you involving her in the prayers? Are you praying to her? Let me explain. And much nicer than if someone's like, you're going to hell. Dial it back, Tito. You see, it's the old honey and vinegar thing. Honey and vinegar. What's my recommended source to read the new Einstein files? I would go to X and start scanning, because so many people have it. If you go to X and search that word, not Einstein, but the other word, you're going to find a lot. There's a program out there called Jmail, not Gmail like Google Mail, but Jmail like Jeffrey. If you go to Jmail, they have an app where it dumps all of the emails into a Gmail-like interface, and you can then search. You can it's organized by date, replies. So it's a familiar format for many of us, because most of us are comfortable with the Gmail platform. So there's that option as well. I don't think there's I think the worst option is to just go to the website and start clicking down every file, because you're recreating the wheel. A lot of people have already looked through a lot of this, and just let them continue to look at it, and then, piggyback off of their work, unless you just have decades of free time, because there's 3 million files that have been released. Are you familiar with Zachary King? No. Ex-Satanist who became Catholic? No, sounds like a good guy, though. A better guy now than he was, admittedly. He went to Bohemian Grove and even met with the Clintons there. Do you know anything about that story? Thanks. I don't. I mean, I'm familiar with Bohemian Grove, but I'm not familiar with Zachary King or his work. No. Love your pimp cup. So OG, man. And now I got to go fill it up for my post-show editing duties. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Thank you for joining me. Don't forget to like the video. Many of you have. Don't forget to subscribe. And when you want to be notified when I go live in the future, just click the notification bell. It'll let you know. If you think you're subscribed, maybe double check, because some people have reported that they're getting unsubscribed. So maybe go check. Make sure you're still subscribed. I'll be back tomorrow night, Monday night. Probably 6 o'clock, but it could be as late as 7. Just kind of depends on my prep tomorrow and see how that goes. But probably 6, I would guess, tomorrow night, 6 p.m. Central Time, 7 Eastern. Was that 4 on the West Coast, 5 in the mountain ranges? So anyway, I appreciate you joining me. I genuinely do. And I look forward to you guys joining me each and every time. And lest ye forget, even you, knifey, Jesus loves you.